400. It is a tough, arguably, Jason, one of the hardest events in the program. I know there's so much debate across the swimming community. And as a distance freestyler, obviously I have a bit of bias, but I do believe that the 400 AM might be the most grueling event in the program.
Well, from my personal experience, my vote goes for the 400 IM. It is by far and away the most painful event I ever swum, and that's going back an awful long time ago. And we did have swimmers. You mentioned the 400 free that did the 400 free yesterday. We saw Lauren Wigington. He's going to be here in the 400 IM this morning, so a real tough double for him. And it's probably, we can sort of speculate, one of the reasons why he pulled out of the final last night in that 400-meter freestyle.
Yeah, for sure. And that's one that we knew this will be his biggest shot at making the team. He was way off that time, the Olympic qualifying time of 3:46 in the 400. So they made a smart decision to say, let's rest up, let's make sure we're fresh for tomorrow. And his best time is about a 10th off of that Olympic qualifying time. So it's going to take a personal best for him, but it's definitely within reach.
Yes, nice to see a few other IMers down there and close within striking distance as well. We've got Colin Gagne and Tristan Yankovic. We'll see them a little bit later, as well as Eric Brown. He's pulling the double. He did the 400 freestyle twice yesterday. He's got the 400 IM today. So it's a pretty tough schedule for a few of them. This morning we've also got some other exciting events on our slate. We've got the 200-meter freestyle coming up for the women. We've got the 100 back for the men, and then we have our pair 100-meter breaststroke as well. So all sorts of exciting opportunities this morning.
Yeah, and we're truly seeing quite a lot of versatility when it comes to different athletes we get to watch. Like you said, we've got some of our distance endurance ones in the 400 IM, and then we get to see a lot of exciting females battling in that 200 freestyle. And one I'm really excited about is that women's 100 breaststroke later.
Some very exciting races on the schedule this morning. Up first, this is event number 3. This is the men's 400-meter individual medley. We've got 5 heats in that this morning, and this is heat number 1. The Olympic qualifying time in this event, as Brittany mentioned, it's about a 10th or so of a second better than Lauren Wigington's lifetime best. Standard is a 4:12.50.
Yeah, and this is such a strategic race. I talked a lot yesterday about the freestyle strategy, but we will see more people fade in this final 25 than we will in any other race. I think it is one that has the ability to really build up lactic acid at the same time of killing all your muscles in the process. So this is all about pacing. You want to swim, no matter what, it's going to hurt. And so I do love a kind of a out there 400 IM where people are just going for it, because at the end of the day, it is going to hurt. But we're seeing right now out of the butterfly leg, definitely a strong start for Matthew Strata there out of Mississauga Aquatic Club in lane 6. This is one you have to pick to your strengths, and every swimmer has different strokes that are their strengths.
And here he is, 1:2.28 through the first 100. It is Strata in lane number 6 from the Mississauga Aquatic Club. About 2 seconds back, we've got the rest of the field. That's Holden Brock in 3, Alexandra Valicio in 4, and Colton Chairs in lane number 5. We talk about the athletes playing to their strengths. As everybody knows, at 400 IM, you have all 4 competitive strokes. You're on your fly, your back, your breast, and free. There's a very technical element to this event, and an awful lot of work and endurance that goes behind it as well. Just as you said, at the very end, for the last 25 meters, this is where you see the people fade, but a lot of work goes into the buildup of this event.
So much training, too, because you have to be versatile across all 4 strokes. If you have a gap, it is noticeable, and when it comes to this kind of stage, you have to be able to work across the board. And I love watching the backstroke because it is all about getting in the oxygen. So right now, I always say, because they're on their back, you're trying to get in as much airflow as possible. By no means is this a recovery stroke, and you can watch the rest of the field is starting to catch Matthew Strata at the moment, and they're saying, we're back in this race. It is by no means over.
Well, and you're exactly right. You can see the field as it comes to the 200. 3 of them abreast here, and it does look like the lead has gone to lane number 4, Alexandra Valicio. He turns in front too. No, it's lane number 6 by 3/10. Still Strata, not by much though, as they turn onto the breaststroke, and somebody else is moving up here now in lane number 5.
Colton Charles, and I think this really is the stroke that makes or breaks an IM, whether it's the 200 or the 400. I know for me personally, I used to be a strong age group IMer, and the second that the breaststroke started to catch up to me, I was no longer in the picture. And you can watch, speaking of no longer in the picture, Colton Charles is definitely a breaststroke specialist because he's beginning to take off here on the rest of the field.
He's having a great first 50 meters of breaststroke as he gets down to the 250-meter wall out in front of everybody. He's turning a 2:55.4, 40.0. His split is a 1.5 seconds faster than Strada's in lane number 6. A lot of the time you're going to see these 100 swung very evenly, if not negative splitting. Part of that is just transitioning, as you know, Brittany, from one stroke to another, and part of it is also strategic.
Yeah, definitely some strategy. I always used to hear from my coaches, try to negative split each 100 within it, and we said negative split yesterday. It just means you're getting a bit faster, but you're working towards that momentum into the next stroke. And again, swimming is a lot about momentum, but when it comes to the freestyle, it is an absolutely empty of the tank here. They only have 100 meters to go. And
it looks like Char's got that momentum in lane number 5. He turns at 3:36.27. And you're right, it's the emptying of the tank, and the timing of that is absolutely crucial. In the 400 freestyle yesterday, we talked about those that had energy left. You could see it in their legs. You look for that white water. You see that they're able to still drive in quick, but we don't necessarily want to see that in the first 25 meters of this freestyle.
No, and there's a lot goes into the timing of when you make that final surge, right? Colton Char is still looking very strong there. He's breathing every 2. You can see he's kind of aware of where the rest of the field is. He took a little bit of a breath over to the other side of the pool there because his closest competitor is Matthew Strada over in lane 6. But both of them look to still have quite a lot left in as we approach this final 25.
And they are here at 25 meters left to go. And you can see Char picking it up. He's going to go at best time. His C time is a 4:43.53. He might even crack that 4:40 mark, which would be a great drop for him here in our first heat. It is the Greater Ottawa Kingfish. Colton Char's in lane number 5, in for the win, 4:39.65. So a good swim out of our first heat, a 4-second personal best. It looks like he did manage to time that finish quite well.
And that's what this is all about, right? Celebrating personal bests, getting in, getting the experience at an Olympic trials. The stands, it is only 9:30 a.m., but you can feel the energy surrounding us here in the stands. There are kids, again, from the schools that have come out on their day. I think this is the best way to learn. I don't know about you, but a classroom is an amazing place to learn, as is a sporting venue, and I think they'll leave today with some lasting memories.
Oh, I think you're exactly right. It's great for all these youngsters to be able to see. This is the highest level of domestic competition in the country. We're getting to see the very best in Canada. We go with heat number 2. Off we go in this one. The top seed is lane number 4, Zach McLeod from the Winskill Dolphins. He's got a 4:38.92 seed time. We just saw 4:39.65 by 15-year-old Colton Charez. That was done in the previous heat. And some strong butterfly. All these swimmers swimming pretty even here through the first 50 meters. So it's going to be McLeod first to the 50 wall, 27.68. Now it's lane number 0, Lucas Morin from Camo on the outside, 27.46.
And he looks incredibly strong there. As you can see, the rhythm in the butterfly, he is taking a breath every stroke, but he's keeping his head still nice and low with the water, and that's what you want to see. You do not want to be popping up too high because it changes that speed into the momentum, and it also adds a little bit more surface area, I like to say, as you're coming through the water.
Well, you're exactly right. You want to try and get through the butterfly expending as least amount of energy as you can. You still have 300 meters to go. 59.21 is the split in for McLeod. Takes back the lead for Winskill. Morin's turning in second, just about a second back at 1:001. On to the backstroke, and the field and the placings are starting to shift.
And we'll have to keep an eye on which lane this morning is our fast lane. We talked a lot about lane 1 yesterday, and of course this is all just fun, but there always is that momentum switch. Sometimes it's the outside smoke, sometimes it is lane 9, lane 0, but yesterday we saw quite a lot of success out of lane 1. So we're going to keep an eye on the bottom of the pool for sure, as lane 0 is still in the mix. That's Lucas Morin at the moment.
Jack Harrison in lane number 3 moving up on this backstroke leg. He's only 1/100th of a second back now. They turn at 1:36.14, 1:36.15. Strong underwater out of Harrison in lane number 3. He's pulled himself now up and in front. We've got Morin in lane number 0 still kicking up with the leaders. And here comes in lane number 1. That's Ewan Schuer starting to move up. He's in the top 3 now as they come to the halfway point. Harrison with the lead. It's almost a body length.
And Harrison looks incredibly relaxed, considering he just did this whole 100 to gain the lead. He still looks absolutely in a position to make a push here on the breaststroke and freestyle.
Strong turn at 2:10.23 on to the breaststroke. They're about 4 seconds faster than we saw in the previous heat. We did see you getting a 4:39 out of Colton Sheras in the first heat out of lane number 5. And Harrison is looking pretty good through these first 25 meters of breaststrokes. He's extending that lead, but McLeod is starting to move now in lane number 4. And we also have somebody trying to make the move of their own in 6 and 7. That's Munich Park and Elliot Caillet.
Looking for power in the breaststroke, so they've just used a lot of their cardio, I would say, on the back, but this is all about the strength in both your arms and your legs. You want to time the stroke really well. You want to be entering the water and reaching out with each stroke, and of course, as you can see, with each breath, making sure you're continuing to get in that oxygen, because the freestyle is going to take everything you have.
So we had a few fast breaststroke splits in there, down at 38. So it was 40.5 for Harrison. So he wasn't the fastest on the breaststroke. The field is starting to move up, but he's built himself up a pretty good lead here as he comes to the 300 wall. So we have just a little bit of breaststroke to go before we turn on to the final freestyle leg, and lane number 5 is moving up. That's not Munich Park, that's Clovis Cassingay from Elite. He's turning second. He is a second back as he turned at 3:32.8 and 3:33.9.
And there you see that white water. We'll talk a lot about very high head positioning here for our race leader out of lane 3 and 5. It's a close race, that's why I'm keeping an eye on both. But right now it's Jax Harrison in lane number 3. He split there 3:32.87 at the 300 mark.
Let's see what we get off of this wall. That's also one of those good telltale signs, is how strong they can get on this push-off, how far they go with the underwater. We can see Harrison is up just past 5 meters. Send for Cassingay in lane number 5. And here comes lane number 4. Zach McLeod trying to make a push and get back up to the front. 25 meters left to go for Harrison in lane number 3. He's trying to get underneath that C time of his. It is a time of 4:39.96.
And a great push there for McLeod in lane 4. He was the fastest on that first freestyle leg, and he does mean business coming home.
And here we go. Jacques Harrison, 4:37.41. That's a new personal best for him, down by a little bit more than 2 seconds, winning heat number 2. Good solid racing in that second heat. All sorts of people changing up their positioning throughout that 4.5 minutes. Go now with heat number 3 of the 400 IM. So this is the last heat before we get into our circle seated heats, Brittany.
It is, and we spoke yesterday. We typically see 3 circle seated heats. For these 400s, we're only going to see 2.
And there we go. Top seed in this third heat is Owen Nicholson for the Halifax Trojans. He's swimming in lane number 4, also representing Simon Fraser University. He's got a C time of 4:36.18. Pretty good start down here in lane number 1. For those of you watching, lane 0 is at the bottom of your screen, lane number 9 at the top.
And important to note those yellow lane lines. So the 2 fastest seeds in every heat will be in lanes 4 and lanes 5, and they are encapsulated by those yellow lane ropes. So if you're ever wondering who is the fastest in the pool or who to keep an eye on, typically we keep an eye on those yellow lanes, but right now, Jason, we're actually not looking at those yellow lanes.
No, because lanes 4 and 5 are actually 9th and 10th through the first 50 meters of butterfly. This could be strategic. Wait and see how this race develops. But right now, it looks like it's lane number 1, Tristan Lebert. He is out in front to the first 100 meters butterfly. He's going to turn in 59.68, right about where we saw in the previous heat. About 0.3 of a second back is lane 6. That's Jordan Shaper turning on to the backstroke. We'll see how this positioning changes now.
And we see a lot of, you could be a 200 butterflyer that swims the 400 M, you could be a 200 backstroker. This is an event that truly brings out a little bit of everyone, and that's what makes it so fun to watch, because every single person, the lead can change no matter what stroke you're watching. I know when we speak a lot about Summer McIntosh in the 400 M, she doesn't really have a weakness, Jason. So it is really an exciting race as a spectator to watch, because it's never ever over until it's over.
You're right, and as we talk about seeing a 200 backstroker or a 200 butterflyer in this event and how challenging this event, the training and the prep for this event is challenging, because not only are they getting ready for this, but a lot of them race the 200 fly, they race the 200 back, they race the 200 breast, they race the 2, the 4, the 800 meter freestyle.
I think I am glad for the sake of all of them that it is coming on day 2, though, because there's nothing worse. Often in the international stage, it actually comes late in the program, sometimes even on day 8. So the fact that they're doing this on day 2, I think makes it a lot better for the rest of their program. And
pretty tight here at the halfway point, 2:11.0. That is lane number 7, David Maybaum from the Richmond Rapids, but 2:11.9. That's 4th. So we've got 4 swimmers turning up the 200 wall within a second of each other. Moving up nicely for the first couple strokes of breaststroke, Alexander Yazaden out of Camo in lane number 3. Yazaden, he's seated with a 4:36.96. A pretty good first 25 meters of breaststroke. Looking strong in lane number 6, Jordan Shaper. He turned second at the wall. They've gone by David Maybaum. He was first through the 200 meters. And Shaper turning now at 2:50.6, 39.4 split on that first 50 meters of breaststroke.
Looks like Lucas Trigger out in lane number 8 with a really quick 38.6 there. So we always have to keep an eye on where our breaststrokers are currently, but definitely keep an eye out on lane 8.
Well, sometimes, like you said, they're hiding in the background, waiting for their chance as the breaststroke comes in that third 100. It does seem like Alexander Yazaden in lane number 3 is going to carry this lead here to the 3/4 mark. And Yazaden from Camo, as we mentioned before, he's got a 4:36.9. He's going to hit the wall first, 3:30.7, not by much, 0.2 of a second up on Jordan Shaper from Nepean. Here we go on the freestyle, strong on that push-off and strong first 20 meters in lane number 3 for Yazaden, and we'll see if Shaper can stick with him. Two of them got about 2 body lengths on the field here on the first 50 meters of freestyle.
And it remains a really close battle, which no matter what heat we're watching, we really, really love to watch. You have to keep an eye too, are they breathing towards each other or away from each other? Because there is a good chance that they might not even see their competitors across the pool.
Well, and Shaper's just taken the lead. He's 17/100ths of a second ahead of Yazaden. He outsplit him by 0.3 of a second, but Yazaden was breathing the opposite direction. Now he sees him. We'll see if he can answer to the challenge being thrown down by Jordan Shaper out in lane number 6. Shaper looks good, though. Look at that energy on the legs. And 10 meters left to go. Jordan Shaper with the advantage for Nepean, Canada. And he takes this heat in a 4:34.21. Keeping our trend of heat winners with best times this morning. Men's 400-meter individual medley.
And just worth noting, it is so important to get those touches because we're not just talking about that Olympic trials A final. We're also talking about there's a B final to qualify for. There's also a junior final to qualify for. So every single placing matters, and no matter what heat you're in, getting to the wall as fast as you possibly can with your head down, no breaths into the wall, makes all the difference if you want a second swim.
Absolutely right, and so we're going to get to see the number 2 seed now in heat number 4, Colin Gagne. 4:16.08 seed time, the time he did at the Fukuoka World Championships in 2023. So Gagne in lane number 4, you'll see him in the middle of your screen. Gagne swimming for the Langley and Abbotsford Olympians, 4:16.08. Beside him in lane number 5, we saw him in the 400-meter freestyle yesterday. It's Eric Brown from Point Claire. He's entered in 4:18.90. That Olympic qualifying time, as we mentioned, 4:12.50, Brittany.
Yeah, but this was one of our most exciting events last year at trials because we had 2 men under that FINA A cut, and we rarely get the opportunity to send 2 men. I definitely don't remember the last time in the 400 IM that we sent 2 men, so that was one of my fondest memories last year, getting to watch 2 of them get under that cut, and it really just shows you what the future of Canadian swimming looks like on the men's side, and specifically an event like the 400 IM, which is a token of versatility.
Absolutely. Benjamin Cote from the Killarney Swim Club in lane number 3, up with your race leaders as they come to the 100 wall. It looks like Gagne 57.6. Then we've got Cote at 57.87, followed by lane number 5, Eric Brown. Benjamin Cote from Killarney, he's got an entry time of 4:23.1. Right up there ahead of Gagne now as they start the backstroke.
And Cote's still looking very strong. Ben Cote actually went to the Pan Am Games in October to represent Team Canada's first big international meet on the senior stage and made the A final. So you got to think that puts him in a better position to feel like he can race some of the big boys here at these Olympic trials.
And Cote comes by this one honestly. His father, JP, was a national team 400-meter individual medley swimmer as well back in the early 90s. And look at this, 132.1, 132.3, 132.5. We've got a great race in 3, 4, and 5. It's Cote, Gagne, and Eric Brown now right up in front as they come to the halfway point.
And this is exactly why we talk about the yellow lanes. This is a better example of where your eyes should be towards a halfway point, and truly 1/10 of a second separating our top 3.
So here we go. Let's see who's got the strongest breaststroke. I like that pullout out of lane number 3 by Cote, looking very strong. He's got a length ahead of both Gagne and Brown.
And I think we often forget about the details in the longer races, but I think they really do mean even more. So things like a good turn, things like holding your breath at the right time, things like making your surge at the right time, a good start, good momentum. All of these things add up, and it's definitely something that completely put Ben Cote from 3rd to 1st at this 250.
And he outsplit the two of them by 0.2 of a second, 0.4 of a second on the breaststroke. It was interesting. I might have missed it, but I thought Brown might have done a touch turn compared to the rollovers that we saw from both Cote and Gagne. And Cote still out in front and looking very good, but Gagne, he has a strong freestyle finish. He's right there in striking distance with your race leader, Cote, in lane number 3.
And it will be interesting to see how much they push on this final 100, because having 3 of them pull away really puts you in a confident understanding that all 3 will qualify for this A final. Again, it's 10 lanes that come back, so I think they've all got to feel pretty good about it. But at the end of the day, it is all a mind game. You want to be at your best next to your competitors, because this might decide who gets a chance to go to the Olympics tonight at the finals.
Absolutely. We saw a great second 50 or breaststroke out of Colin Gagne to get the lead again ahead of Cote through the end of the breaststroke. Brown looking very strong in lane number 5. Brown actually sneaking up on the outside of Gagne. Gagne breathing to the right. He doesn't see Brown. Brown now just 6/100ths of a second behind. And now Eric Brown breathing to the right. Gagne does see him. Cote sitting back in 3rd, a little bit over 25 meters to go, and it's a great finish to this heat in the 400 IM.
Eric Brown with a 29.5 on that 50 free. Talk about a distance freestyler. He's like, I think I want to win this heat.
And it looks like Brown is going to do that. Gagne not giving up, though, in lane number 4. As it comes to the flags, I think it's going to be Brown in 5, 4:20.02. Just ahead of Colin Gagne, 1/10 of a second back, a 4:20.1. A real solid swim. Benjamin Cote in lane number 3, just a couple 10ths of a second over his lifetime best. Those are our leaders coming now for our 5th and our final heat.
And that's a really great example of using each other to push through the morning heats. They all worked really hard. It's an event, though, that you really can't cruise control. You can't go necessarily easy in a 400 IM. So to have those times posted in the morning, the 4:20 point lows, and then even out of Ben Cote there for 23.4, that's right on the time he went at the Pan Am Games. So to do that in the preliminaries, I think is a really great indicator.
Very good sign for things to come tonight. I'm sure we'll see those 3 in our final as we get set for our 5th and our final heat, featuring the top seed, Lauren Wigington from the High Performance Center in Ontario. Seed time of 4:12.81, just over that Olympic qualifying time. Here we go, a very good start at lane number 4 by Lauren Wigington. We saw him put up a solid swim yesterday in that 400-meter freestyle as well, Brittany.
Yeah, he looked really, really strong in the morning. 350, right close to where he knows he can be. So I always say the confidence boosters are everything in a long competition like this. I would have taken that swim if I was Lauren and say, okay, I feel good about it, but I'm moving on and I know I'm in the right shape. I hit my taper well, and he looks like he's taken it to 26.6 on the first 50 there for Wigington.
Pretty fast first 50 for Wigington there in lane number 1. He put down that time at the World Junior Championships in September, that 4:12.81. It's where he picked up the bronze medal.
And he had such a great competition there at those World Juniors. He also trains out of this pool, so he's pretty comfortable here from Calgary, of course, but training out of HPC Ontario with Coach Ryan Millette. He went to the World Championships in Doha, where he did make the final in this very race. So he's definitely our favorite and most likely to get under that Olympic qualifying time.
And pretty good of a youngster like that to get into the final at the World Championship level on the 400 IM. Typically it's a mature swimmer's event, but this is a great indicator of where Lauren Wigginton is here. He's out in 57.00. It's about a half second off of where he was when he won his lifetime best. But again, Brittany, just like you said, some of these swimmers are going to be looking to get a bit of a lead and then decide, well, how much energy do I need to expend this morning in what is a very challenging and demanding event?
It is challenging and demanding, and I did want to take a chance also to talk about Tristan Jankovic over in lane number 5. This is an athlete that I am really excited about, and especially after watching him at the NCAA Championships just a few weeks ago. He swims at OSU, one of the Buckeyes, a sophomore, 20 years of age, but he made the A final at the NCAAs, and if you are a fan of swimming, you know how hard and how elite that level of competition is. They are some of the most incredibly deep fields across the sport of swimming because you have international athletes from all over representing their collegiate teams. So for him to make the A final really showed me, okay, he is at that world-class level, and I think he is ready to make his mark from that, junior age group to senior level swimmer here in Canada.
And Jankovic is the leader through 200 at 2:02.92, 3/100ths of a second up on Wigginton as they go on to the breaststroke. Saw Jankovic put up a lifetime best last year at the Canadian Championships. That time a 4:17.40. Look to see how much he's improved over the last number of months. He takes that lead now. It's by 0.6 of a second. 35.8 first 50 meters of breaststroke. He's up and ahead of Wigginton.
And he looks smooth doing it. You can see how long his strokes are. That's what we call efficient breaststroke. He's moving through the water well. He's got a power at the top of his stroke. He's finishing out his kick, as you can see, but he doesn't appear to be expending an incredible amount of energy, which is exactly the 400 AM breaststroke split you want to be seeing.
And he's pulling away and further ahead of Wigginton with every stroke here as they come to the flags. He looks very strong. Here now to the 300-meter mark is going to be Jankovic out in front, 3:14.78. It's actually ahead by 2 full seconds. His lifetime best split at the 300, so very strong. 2 seconds back is Wigginton. Wigginton does look like he is sort of in cruise mode at the moment.
I don't know, Jason. I think Jankovic might be the name that we're chatting even more about at finals tonight. I think he's got such a bright future. And I was just reading a little bit about him where he said, that first year at OSU, he got through the learning curve of the training and racing yards. He's worked a lot on his underwaters, and we've talked about details, but even long course and in the longer races, those underwaters and those starts and those finishes make all the difference. And today in the preliminaries, he is making a statement.
He absolutely is. He's on pace to go a lifetime best. Again, he's ahead by almost 2 seconds where he was last summer when he did this 4:17. He doesn't look like he's slowing down, and I think you're absolutely right. This is a statement in the last heat of the 400 IM. As Tristan Jankovic in lane number 5 comes in, lifetime best, 4:15.68. He's got to be happy with that swim.
Yeah, but this is one of those things that you almost hope he left a little in the tank for tonight, for sure, because it is going to take even more of a lifetime best to qualify for the Olympic team. You can see those two competitors. They'll go back and forth for quite some time to come. A great morning swim there for Lauren Wigginton, always wearing Ella Jansen's cap. It must be a good luck charm for him, but he gets under that 4:20 barrier. So we now have about 4 athletes under that, around or under that 4:20 mark. So it's been a little while since we've seen that here on the Canadian stage in the men's side. So I'm really looking forward to watching these 4 develop.
Nice to see that this event is becoming competitive, and as you said, so many swimmers putting up some fine performances in this one over the last couple of years. We just saw one of those fine performances by 20-year-old Tristan Jankovic in lane number 5, presenting Royal City Aquatic Club. Your top seed going into tonight's final. You see that event summary rolling through.
I'm excited for that race tonight. That just got me really fired up. We're only at, it's not even 10 a.m. yet, and we just saw what could potentially be one of the best battles going into tonight's qualification for that Olympic roster.
The blue ribbon event of swimming, Brittany, in my opinion, that 400-meter individual medley.
It is definitely one of the best as a spectator to get to tune into, and both men and women's side here in Canada make it very exciting to watch.
Well, speaking of very exciting to watch, what's next? 200 freestyle. So not only a couple spots up and available to compete at the Olympics, but Canadian relay team.
Oh, and we're going to talk a lot about the relays later because this one is still completely wide open. Some events where, you know, it's pretty clear we have one favorite and maybe 2 or 3 vying for that second spot. These relay events, when 4 of them can qualify for that relay roster, anything can happen, Jason.
Absolutely, and it is a very competitive event to the 400-meter freestyle. We looked through our site sheets, this morning's heat sheet as well, and how many of these ladies are all bunched together within 3/4 tenths of each other, and any one of them could be on that team and contributing to the relays. And Canada, over the last couple of years, has done so well in this women's 400 by 200-meter freestyle relay. You know that very well.
Yeah, it is one of those events too that now, with the level of competitiveness that we have across the board in Canada and the depth that we have, that if you were making that roster, you were fighting for a medal at the international level. And I don't think we're scared anymore to say it. I think it's out there, and I think we have to be continuing to chase it, and the expectations are growing as they should be, which makes it, you know, expectation is a privilege and pressure is a privilege, and these athletes have known what it's taken to get there. We have some of the veterans, you know, like Alexiak and Savard, and then we also see some of our younger names and our fresher names, and one of them that we're going to be chatting about later, Julie Brosseau. What a swim last night.
So close, so close. And what was really exciting was just seeing the level of support that really the entire Canadian community, swimming community, had for this young lady when everybody on deck could tell she was going to be right on that cut, and she was. She put up a great swim.
Yeah, personal best for her last night. We're referring to the 400 freestyle. She missed that Olympic qualifying time by 0.2 of a second, but I quickly saw her in the warmed up pool. I gave her a little shake, pat on the back, a shoulder shake, and said, you know what, you have so much racing left to come, and I hope she knows and she can stay in that right mentality. I think that's a telltale sign that you've hit your taper well, you're exactly where you need to be, and she is in the 400 AM, she is in the 200 free, she is across the board one of our more versatile athletes, and I'm really looking forward to watching her career continue to grow.
Yeah, so she's seated 5th in this event. We'll see her coming up. She's got a 1:58.10. Look at this in this first heat. A great race happening in lanes 4 and 5. That's Ashlyn Massey from Point Claire in 4 and Gabrielle Diaz from Camo in 5. And it looks like Massey in lane number 4 is going to get to the wall first. She does, 2:05.07.
Both of them, a big personal best.
Very well.
Entered in 2:07.4, so that is a really great swim here to start us off, 2:05.0. That's why pushing each other to these close finishes makes that much of a difference, right? We just saw 2 lifetime bests by quite a big chunk.
Just looking at our psych sheets, we have 7 swimmers all within 6-7 tenths of each other in that 200-meter freestyle in spots 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. It's going to be very tight and very exciting to get on to into that final here tonight.
Well, Jason, that's exactly what I was going to say. It's all about getting into the final, because truly, if you're in that final, you have a chance. We've all been to Olympic trials where we see someone qualify out of lane 1 or see someone qualify on that final finish with their head down. So if you're in the final, you're coming into tonight's final thinking, I have a chance of going to the Olympic Games. And this is why the sport is, you know, you can hear it in my voice. I'm just so excited. That's what it's all about. I love watching those first ever qualifications.
Well, I just mentioned the first 7 times and the gap between them, but we can't forget seeded 8th is Savard. She's an Olympic medalist in this relay event. Seeded 9th is Penny Alexiak, the fastest Canadian ever in the women's 200-meter freestyle.
And I think the depth really shows in this event because, you know, ask me a year ago and we wouldn't have known exactly who was in this relay. We definitely have seen Alexiak come back. I saw her at the Canadian Open and she truly seemed happier and more relaxed than I have seen her since Rio 2016, truly. So I am looking forward to watching her race. I think she knows her role right now as a relay ace. I think she wants to be back on the podium for Team Canada, but then obviously knowing we have those stars like McIntosh, we know Mary Sophie Harvey now is going to come into confidence after making the team in the 100 butterfly. But again, we'll get to chat about them in a few minutes. Let's chat about this race right now.
So Sarah McNabb out of Fredericton is doing a great job here in lane number 2. She's at 1:00.84. Seed time is a 2:06.99. She's going to carry that lead here to the, no it's not, it's down to Abigail Baylor from Red Deer Catalina in lane number 8, who's come on strong. On that third 50, Baylor, as we mentioned, representing Red Deer Catalina, seated at 2:07.0. She turned at 1:33.5. see her down at those 205s like we saw in heat 1. She looks very strong, all on her own up there in lane number 8.
Right, and she has the blue cap at the top of your screen. You can see she took a breath over to the rest of the pool to take a peek if she's still in this race, and she's definitely our leader.
And Baylor, 205.68, a nice drop for her to win our second heat. Good job from the youngster out of Red Deer, Alberta.
We are getting set for 7 heats in this morning, but I wanted to make a comment that we have 3 circle seated. We just came off of 2 circle seated. What that means is our fastest 30 entries will be in the last 3 heats. So we have 2 more heats remaining before we get to those circles seated where we hear about all the names we've just been chit-chatting about.
So here we go, coming with heat number 3. Your top seed is Ashley Coe from the Langley Olympians, sitting in lane number 4. In the 205.54. Look at the start out of lane number 3. Really good on that underwater in that breakout. That was Sarah Fisher from the Olympian Swim Club.
I noticed that too, Jason. She looked so strong off the blocks, and also, like you said, with the underwater, she held her streamline really, really well and took the best of her momentum. You get so much power off the blocks, but I think sometimes the athletes forget to make the most of that power. I know I definitely, it took me a while to learn that one, but you have to let the momentum carry you, and she did such a good job there, our leader at the 50.
Well, it's just interesting, and it stands out because these heats, these early heats are so even on their seed times, but she was heads and tails ahead of the rest of the field through that underwater and that breakout. Really good. Testament to that training and coaching by the Olympians for young Vischer. So she can hold on to that. She led through the 50 at 28.2. She's out in front here at the 100, just ahead of lane number 4, Ashley Coe from Langley. Turning together, it's a slight advantage by 1/10 of a second, 1:00.04 for Vischer. And Coe turned right with her, but you saw Vischer pick up ground again with that turn, that underwater, and that breakout.
Yeah, she remains nice and relaxed, you can see, but she's breathing away from her closest competitors. So we talk about strategy across every race, but there's definitely a little bit of not letting your breathing pattern change for the rest of your heat, but being aware of where everyone else in the pool is at each turn.
Absolutely, and a lot of times in the development of a swimmer, it's bilateral breathing when they're younger, and for a very good reason, keeping everything balanced, but eventually swimmers, for the most part, get a favorite side. But despite having a favorite side, you do have to keep your eye on the rest of the field. Somebody slipped by you, but Fisher doing a good job now. She's got her eye on Coe in lane number 4, moving up in 5. That's Yeon Liu from the Canadian Dolphins. Liu with lots of momentum here towards the finish. She might get up there with Fisher. It's going to be very tight. And it is Sarah Fisher just by 1/10 of a second. 2:04.53. That's the fastest time we've seen so far this morning here on women's 200-meter freestyle.
And that's the type of time that we might keep an eye on for things like the junior final or getting back in a second swim later tonight. But both of those two ladies push each other to a good 2.5 personal best.
Solid swimming there out of heat number 3. Nice to see those swimmers take advantage of this opportunity, racing fast this morning. And it's been something that, you know, we've talked about. We saw it all day yesterday. Lots of great swims in the morning by these rookies. Coming in and learning that skill to go as fast as they can. Here we go with heat number 4 early on. So Raphael Tremblay in lane number 4 from Vivier Deloup. She's seated first at 2:04.19.
And a shot out of lane 0. We have to keep an eye on lane 0 from now on. But Madison Krieger training at the HPC Ontario. She is out like a rocket here in the outside.
It's not always easy to see that lane 0 from necessarily where you are here, but 28.54 on the first 50. Potential on University of Calgary's Jordan Grieber in lane number 8. Grieber looking good as well. She's at the top of your screen in the yellow cap. And Madison Krieger in the white cap in lane number 0 at the bottom, out in front. Kind of bookending this heat as they come to the 100 wall. Still Krieger in lane 0. She's seated at 2:05.37. She first through here at the 100, looking strong, 59.2. Solid 30.6 on that second 50. That was the fastest second 50 of the field. So plenty of momentum, and she's carrying it through here into the back half of this race.
A really solid swim she's putting together. Still only 15 years of age, so an awesome opportunity. And again, we said it's going to be close to get into this A final. So if you want to push the pace and get under or around that 2-minute mark, you might be into our A final to fight for a spot at the Olympics this year.
What I love, and you said it earlier, is you sort of reverse engineer being on that women's 4x200 meter freestyle team, and the likelihood is that they will be fighting for a medal.
Yep.
So if you are in the final, you are fighting for a spot on that team, and you are fighting for an Olympic medal. And I think that we're going to see that as we get into these circle-seated heats, just really how much of a fight you're going to see with these young women trying to get themselves into the final position tonight.
A great race shaping up here. We have 3 coming into the wall. And
look at this finish. And heating from coast to coast to coast. It was Madison Krieger. The best time for her, 2:02.82 for the 15-year-old from Brock Niagara Aquatics.
A really solid race there, but the rest of the field did start to catch up a little bit. Raphael Tremblay there in second, 2:03.13, and then rounding out our 2:03 there, we also have Jordan Grieber in the mix. So we get set now to watch our first of the circle seed, and a few familiar faces in that list.
There sure are. If you look at the top seed, swimming in lane 4, Rebecca Smith, she was 3rd last night in that 100-meter butterfly. She was under the Olympic qualifying time, but in 3rd place. So she won't get to compete in that event, but a solid statement for where the state of her swimming is. Beside her in lane number 3, Penny Alexiak, the Canadian record holder in this event, the most decorated female athlete at the Olympic Games for Canada. And we've also got Brooklyn Douthright in lane number 5, so a stacked heat number 5.
Well, and I think the thing we have to keep in mind about this race is the difference of strategies across the board, because Penny gets out like a rocket, as she is right now. First at the 50, 27.8, and then the rest of the field is going to want to build into this race. Rebecca Smith is one of my favorite technical strokes. When I watch her swim freestyle, I always just think, wow, you look so smooth and relaxed. And we said in that 100 fly, of course, disappointment when you come 3rd and you're still under that Olympic qualifying time. But the way I would have to look at it, if I'm Rebecca, is the fact that I know I'm at my best. I know I'm hitting the times I need to hit. It's just a matter of getting my hand on the wall and the other placing next time.
And 3, 4, 5, and 6, and lane 8 all turning very close to each other. It is Alexiak out in front, 58.3. She's got 7/100ths of a second on Smith in lane number 4. Smith now starting to pick it up. It looks to me like she's gone up and right there with Alexiak. Lane number 5, Douthright is moving very nicely as well. They were 30.2 and 30.3 on that last 50. They're just ahead of Alexiak as they're coming to the last wall.
And keep an eye out on lane 8, Leah Tiger. She is having a really great 3rd 50 to put herself in this mix. And again, to get into this final is all going to be so close.
Douthright moving very good, 30.5. She's a slight lead, 0.3 of a second up on Smith in lane number 4 as they come to the close. 25 meters left to go. I think we can see Smith now trying to pick it up and stay even at least with Douthright in lane 5. And we're going to have a solid finish in lanes 4 and 5 here in our first of the circle seated heats of the 200 free. And 1:59.35, Rebecca Smith. And on the wall first, but just by 5/100ths of a second. And a solid swim by Alexiak at 2:01 in for 3rd.
Yeah, solid swim. She looks smooth. Again, this is her first race of these trials, so it's just about getting out those cobwebs. I think that should put her in a position to make the final, but we will have to keep our eyes on the clock and on the board in the next 2 heats. Like I said, Rebecca Smith just looked incredibly smooth to me. I love watching her race. I love how long and strong her stroke is. I would take that as a check mark. She's also a 2-time Olympic medalist. We kind of sometimes forget to mention those things when you have Alexiak in the heat, but a very, very accomplished athlete there.
And that is very true. Speaking of accomplished athletes, we've got lane 4 in heat number 6, Mary Sophie Harvey. She made the Olympic team, nominated to the Olympic team, going underneath the standard in the 100 fly, in for silver behind Maggie McNeil last night. We talked about this as we started, about hitting your stride at the right time. Talk about somebody hitting their stride at exactly the right time.
Well, and yesterday, she was my highlight of the night, truly, because we talked a lot about McNeil, we talked a lot about McIntosh, but we often miss out on those second place finishers that are hitting new lifetime goals, and she's never gotten the chance to swim an individual event at the Olympic Games. She was known more for being that relay swimmer, sometimes even that relay alternate, and now she's making a name for herself. She went a personal best time at the Canadian Open just a few weeks ago, so we've got to think that puts her in really, really great form here.
And here we go, Julie Brousseau. We talked about her as the 200 freeze began, as the day began, how she just missed out on that 400-meter freestyle, not taking any chances this morning. Look at this, 57.50. That is right on pace for her lifetime best. Turning in second in lane number 3, but she's a second back. That's Katrine Savard. Harvey is turning third.
And here comes Harvey. She just flipped up that wall after a very relaxed tempo, 30.8 on that 50, and now she's like, okay, I better get my spot in the middle lane for tonight's final.
Look at that power out of Harvey in lane number 4 as she is eating up all sorts of real estate in front of her. She comes just behind Brousseau at the last wall. She turns 0.8 of a second back, a 29-2 split. She is moving.
And I really believe that Brousseau is the future of Canadian swimming. I think we're going to be chatting quite a lot about her, and I do believe she's going to be on this Olympic roster in some capacity. But look how long and strong. She uses her height to her advantage. She is so smooth through the water, and each stroke just getting so much distance.
Well, look at this impressive finish by Harvey. She's going to even or negative split this race this morning. My goodness, that is a negative split by more than a second, 1:57.65. She's within 9/10 of her lifetime best, out in 59, back in 58.2. What a swim by Mary Sophie Harvey.
Yeah, and she always loves that back half, more than arguably anyone we ever get to watch. She always comes on strong, but that was definitely a strategy she would have taken. Get out in the mix in the first 100 this morning. I don't think we'll see her drop back that far tonight, but she is one to keep an eye on when it comes to that final push on the final 25.
No, that might be a bit of a gamble in the final, but you know, no gambling this morning out of that finish. Absolutely. And the hits keep coming. Who's in this next heat? Lane number 4, Summer McIntosh. She is the world's junior record holder in this event. Time of 1:53.65.
And we might hear the crowd a little louder here this morning because this is who they came to see. One of our most talked about athletes at the moment, and after a bit of a disappointment yesterday, and I don't know how we're talking about disappointment when it comes to a 3:59.0 in a 400 free, but she looked visibly a little bit upset with her performance in the 400 freestyle last night, but she's gotten that pressure off her back to make that Olympic team. And even the athletes that we speak about so frequently, they still have to come here and qualify. So check that box off last night, and now it's all about racing for McIntosh.
And I mistakenly mentioned Alexiak as a Canadian record holder in this event. It was actually Alexiak's record that McIntosh broke. And yes, she was disappointed about that 400-meter freestyle, but it is the world's #1 time. And no doubt the best is still yet to come for her in that event later this summer. She turns here 56.40.
And we also want to keep an eye on Ella Jansen here, who is her teammate right beside her. They both grew up at the Etobicoke Swim Club. I always say about Jansen that if it weren't for McIntosh, we would always be chatting about Jansen because they swim similar events, and they are similar ages, of course. We've watched Jansen take to the international stage the last couple years. She went to the Doha World Championships. She's been on the 4x200 freestyle relay at the finals in those games, but also she is yet to qualify for an Olympic team. And after disappointment yesterday in the 400 freestyle, this is her best chance.
Well, and she is looking strong here. She turns at the 150 at 127.4. She's right on pace for her lifetime best. She did that time in the Mare Nostrum Tour last summer. And she is looking very good here this morning, as is McIntosh. McIntosh in control of this race in lane number 4 as we come now to the finish. She's for the 126.8. The 157.65 is the fastest time we've seen. That was Mary Sophie Harvey in the previous heat. McIntosh 156.78, strong. Second, it is Jansen in lane number 5 at a 158.87. And then third, Emma O'Cronin down at a 159.05 in lane 3.
And we're going to have to keep an eye on that because we just saw 5 of them get under the 2-minute mark, so it's going to be really, really close to get into this 8 final. One thing I do want to mention, though, Sylvia Stravatsias from eSwim is actually an international athlete, so that might end up being the difference between who's going to get into this A and who's going to get into the B final. But we said it's going to be so tight, and now we're seeing the board. Penny Alexiak with the 10th spot into tonight's final.
Yes. So it's going to be a packed heat tonight in that A final.
Actually, it is Kat Savard. Excuse me, Kat Savard. If you see the A beside her name there, it is because of the international athlete that I just mentioned. So she was 11th if you just look at organic times. But we invite international athletes here to compete at the trials, but they cannot be eligible for the A final because those are our qualification finals. So she will get her spot. Kat Savard's Olympic dreams stay alive by quite literally a touch, which is awesome to see. So talk about outside smokes. We're going to see two of the most decorated Canadian athletes having lane 0 and lane 9 in tonight's 200 freestyle final.
It's going to be an exciting event, probably one of the most exciting this weekend as the ladies battle to get on to the Olympic team, both in the individual event and for the very exciting relays. Shifting gears now as we move to event number 7. This is the men's 100-meter backstroke. We'll have 7 heats of this event.
And talk about 100 backstroke. Who are our big picture people that we need to keep an eye on in this event, Jason?
Well, Blake Turney broke the 54-second mark twice at the World Championships and went under the Olympic qualifying time of 53.74. He did that in the final of the men's 400-meter medley relay. I'm going to have to keep an eye on him. Javier Acevedo, he's been down at that cut before. He's seating it in second. He's just over it. He's been having a great last couple of seasons.
And that Olympic qualifying time that you mentioned, 53.74. We don't expect anyone this morning will be under that time, but it is one that we want to keep an eye on. And Blake Tierney has been under it within the year, as you mentioned. But this is another event where we have to consider that medley relay as well. So the time does matter if you want us in the individual event, but likely we will take the winner no matter what because we need a backstroker on that medley relay.
And we saw that last time. You saw with Finley Knox putting up the fastest 100 breaststroke of the field, likely setting himself up as the breaststroker in that 400-meter medley relay for the men. So absolutely, like the Olympic consideration time is a 54.0, but we do need a backstroker. We do need a backstroker for the relay. So absolutely get your hand on the wall first. We'll see if they can get themselves underneath that standard. Again, it does sit at 53.74. First out in heat number 1, Henry Slater in lane number 4, 28.59. Slater from the Granite Gators, just under a minute and a 59.85, but the field all the way across lanes 2 through to 7. Stroke for stroke as they come to the 15-meter mark. Advantage in lane number 2, Jacques Harrison. We already saw him in the 400 IM put up a best time this morning.
He's back.
He's back again, and he does it at a 59.20, cracking that minute mark for the first time.
And we've spoken a lot about how you just need to be versatile when you're younger, and he's showing us exactly why we say it. Getting 2 events in that are arguably 2 completely different muscle memories, 2 completely different training programs, and yet you can do them both. And I love watching that.
It's great to see these young swimmers doing that. Certainly not an easy double anything following the 400 IM. So good on him, swimming at 59.2 in the first heat, going a best time in that one as we move on to heat number 2.
Well warmed up is what I like to say.
Well warmed up.
Well warmed up.
Absolutely. And we do keep talking about the Olympic team, but we also have the World Junior team.
We do.
And selection for that. And we do have a number of junior age swimmers that will contend here in the backstroke coming up. Get ready now for heat number 2. It was Junior World. It's actually a Junior Pan-Pacific Championships happening in Australia.
One of the best places to race for swimming. I truly love any chance I get to go to Australia to compete because their fan base and their culture lives and breathes around their swimming. So anytime you can be there and get to compete internationally, I promise as a youngster especially, you will leave with a lasting impression. Great swimming community down there, and as Brittany said, great support for their athletes. Leading the way in our second heat, we've got 28.36 out of lane number 1. That's Brady McPherson-Lewison from the Golden Horseshoe Aquatic Club. He's seated at a 59.65, our top seed, 59.37.
That's lane number 4 from Gatineau. That's Anton Semenchuk. At the finish, it is lane number 1, 59.22. That is McPherson Lewison from Golden Horseshoe, a best time by 0.4 of a second, taking our second heat.
And a big thumbs up over to his teammates. We always love getting the chance to watch that. He is proud of that performance, as he should be, and excited by the accomplishment and a big heat win.
So we've had a few of these swimmers swimming low. We also have Hugh McNeil. He's been underneath the Olympic qualifying time in the 200-meter backstroke. And sorry, he was underneath it last year. His has gotten a little bit faster, so we'll see where he can get to. He's seated down at 55.3. Aidan Norman in the semifinals in the World Junior Championships. He's seated at 54.7. Finley Knox was earlier scheduled to swim this event. He's since pulled out of it.
I was actually looking at, our top 10 in Canada this year, and Finley cracked that at, 6th, I think. Yeah, 6th place, and he did that in December. So he truly is a great example of an IMer that tries to swim every race in the book to make sure he's putting himself in the best position to be successful in that 200 IM.
Well, it's something we said when the 400 was going on. The IMers are doing training and competing in all of the 200s and all of the stroke. Finley is doing that in the 100s of all of the strokes. He's competed, well, he hasn't competed breaststroke internationally in those strokes or backstroke, but he's up there, and he possibly could. He's a great freestyle. He's been on Canada's relays before.
And the butterfly, he swam individually at 50 fly, the 100 fly at these meets, like these the junior teams, and definitely even the senior teams as well.
Well, he broke the Canadian record in the 50-meter butterfly at the Doha World. So this is the end of our third heat, and it's a pretty tight field as it comes to the wall. Keep your eye out at the top of your screen, lane 9. And it is lane 9, 58.55. That's Nicholas Radenovic in the Blue Waves. The 16-year-old going a best time by just about 0.8 of a second, taking heat number 3.
And he's happy about that. I just love the head nod. The confidence that you can see in some of the swimmers when they touch the wall, there's truly nothing better. Those that are keeping an eye as well, there's that small ledge that they put in the blocks for the backstroke starts, and it's something that I always like to provide context because it does sometimes seem a bit confusing. That's somewhat, I can't say new anymore, Jason. It's probably, what, 10 years, 15 years?
Yeah, something like that, but relatively new.
Yes.
You talk about innovations on starting blocks. Hasn't been a lot over the last 75 years, but
Right.
that is one of them.
Yeah, so they basically, as you can see right now, they put their feet on that ledge. It helps them get off the blocks with a lot more power and get higher in their backstroke start. Less slippage.
And good starts across the board in lane number 4 as we get underway. Top seed in our 4th heat, Tristan Gavier from Hollyburn. He's got a 58.33. He's swimming in lane number 4. That's pretty good through the first 25 meters, as is lane number 1, Logan Pack. Pack swimming unattached. He's entered in 58.68.
And again, only about a half a second separating our fastest to our slowest in this heat. So it's going to be very close. Logan Pack at the 50, 27.70. Really great first 50 for him.
And it is bunching up down there in lanes 1, 2, and 3. And here comes lane number 2, charging hard here. That's Evan Pang Wang. He's swimming unattached. He's just 14 years old, but he's fighting for a heat win. He's entered in a 59.18. And at the wall, 58.04. It does go to lane number 4. Ronnie Hartel, lifetime best for him. Sorry, that was from the previous heat. This was Tristan Gavier from Hollyburn. Best time for him by 0.3 of a second. 58.04.
Really solid race there from the middle. They closed really strong, lanes 3 and 4. You always like to see those the shoot from the outside athletes, and we definitely saw a few lane 2 with a really great performance. That's Justin Fontaine.
Well, here we go with the first of our last 3 circle seeded heats. Number 3 seed overall, swimming in lane number 4, 51.71 is the entry time. Raven Doman from the High Performance Center in Vancouver.
Yeah, so he is a Vancouver boy too, from North Van. He was on that 2024 Worlds team. That was his pool debut because he previously lived a life as an open water swimmer, which you see that happen sometimes in the distance events, but rarely do you watch someone go from open water to the 100 backstroke.
Absolutely. And I think he swam the 200 backstroke as well at the World Championship. So it is a bit of a unique transition from open water to backstroke in the pool. He's entered here at a 54.71, his number 3 time overall in this event. The time he did it almost a year ago at the trials here in Toronto.
He also went to the Pan Am Games earlier in the fall where he made the final in the 200 backstroke, and he swam the preliminaries of the 4 by 1 free and medley relays.
Doman looking good, 26.73. That's 1/10 of a second better than he was out when he went his 54.7. So he's looking very strong in lane number 4. He's got a body length on the field. As we come here to the finish, 15 meters left to go, moving nicely in lane number 6. That's Paul Dardis from the University of Calgary, putting up a good swim as well. As Doman in 4, 54.26, a new best time by a half second.
Wow.
Solid swim this morning.
That's really, really awesome to see. To come in the morning, first race of these trials. I think he's just made a bit of a statement. It's going to be a close race, but he's now put his name in the mix to be one of 2 athletes to get under that Olympic qualifying time.
Well, a good swim by Doman, a half of a second lifetime best as we move on to heat number 6. Javier Acevedo, he's entered in 53.83. He's a top seed in this heat in lane number 4. Canada's most decorated senior international swimmers over the last couple of years.
And he's from Scarborough, Ontario, so this, talk about comfortable. He trains at this pool, and he's from this very city. Awesome to see. He's been on the team. He went to Rio 2016. He went to Tokyo 2020. He swam on the mixed medley in Tokyo, but in Rio, he swam this event actually individually. And I think at those trials, he shocked everybody as a youngster to make that Olympic squad.
Absolutely. He does have a best time at 53.64, something he did in 2017. He's been doing freestyle more often as part of Canada's senior national team, but one heck of a backstroker at the same time.
Yeah, he continues to kind of dabble in the backstrokes, and definitely his relay potential in the freestyle is there and strong as well. But coming into these trials as a 2-time Olympian has to feel good. He's now 26 years of age, competed for the Georgia Bulldogs collegiately as one of my lovely teammates. There you see him at the lead, 26.50 at the 50.
He is a Canadian record holder in this long course 50-meter backstroke, and he's out pretty strong. He always has a very good back half to his races. He's a strong 200 freestyler, strong 100-meter freestyler, looking very good. Raven Doman, 54.2 in the previous heat. That's the time he's chasing down. And it's going to be Acevedo in 4, 54.42. A very nice swim this morning. Winning heat number 6 in men's 100-meter backstroke.
Definitely after watching that previous heat, that swim means more because you really have to make sure you're keeping your name in the mix. You're not letting anybody get too far out of the way. And Javi Acevedo rocking the mustache here this morning, has a big smile on his face. He's happy with that swim, and he's definitely going to be excited going into these finals.
So here we go with our 7th and our final heat. Blake Turney is the only swimmer we have seated underneath that Olympic qualifying standard. And the qualifying time at 53.74. Turney entered in at 53.65. Again, it was a time he did at the end of the World Championships in Doha, leading out the men's 400-meter medley relay.
And Tierney, originally from Saskatoon, he trains also in Vancouver. We've seen quite a few of them swim this morning. HBC van with Coach Scott Talbot. That's also where Finley Knox swims. He's won 5 medals at the most recent Pan Am Games. One of them came in this very event with a silver in the 100 backstroke.
Here we go now, our 7th and our final heat of the men's 100-meter backstroke. And here we go. We'll mention in lane number 3 that Cole Pratt, he did compete in this event in Tokyo for Canada. Does have a best time down at 53.5. He's been battling injury for the last couple years. He's going to make his way back here to international competition as we come to the 50 wall. Turning out very good in lane number 4. He's turning in 26.2. Aiden Norman just 8/100ths of a second back, 26.17. Strong first 50 meters as we turn onto the back half. Norman, a good 200-meter backstroke. He's up and racing with Turney in lane number 4.
And Norman looking very strong right now, as you can see, staying in the middle of his lane, getting through a really tight tempo, and it's still a battle of 2.
And Turney with the advantage in lane number 4 at the wall. 53.93, a solid first. Great swim by Turney here in Canada. 53.93, 2/10 of a second back. A new best time for Aiden Norman in lane number 5 at 54.16. Cole Pratt third, and a 55.83 in lane number 3.
Yeah, huge swim there for Aiden Norman. You've got to think that's a confidence booster coming into the final. Arguably the 200, as you said, the better event that he would probably have the best chance of making the team in. But now he's a part of a whole new conversation.
Absolutely. The youngster, just 18 years of age, from the University of Calgary. Best time, 6/10 of a second. We've got the results scrolling now for a men's 100-meter backstroke.
Yeah, it's going to be close tonight. I think, going into today, asking for 2 under that time might have been a little unrealistic. But after these preliminaries, Jason, I'm thinking we might be able to see 2 men under that Olympic qualifying time.
Well, I think anything is possible. And we had some close calls there with some 54 lows. Men's 100 backstroke. Now getting ready for our next event number 8, the women's 100-meter breaststroke, and as well as individual spots, a relay spot on the line. And this race, when you get down to the top 3 swimmers, it is so incredibly close in our sea times.
I don't think I've ever been more excited for a race than I have been. Or sorry, I don't think I've ever been more excited for a breaststroke race than I have been for this one. Usually it's more of a challenging one for me to watch because I was just never, as an athlete, a very good breaststroker, but I love to see when we have the depth in Canada like we do right now. And there's nothing more exciting than watching, 3 or 4 of them battle head to head to try to get on this first Olympic team, because our top 3 qualifiers have all never gotten the chance to go to an Olympics before.
Well, that's pretty incredible. And I think what is even more incredible is when we get outside of those top 3 who are all underneath that Olympic qualifying cut, then you get into your next seed who's 4th, Kelsey Wog. She has been underneath that standard. She has so much international experience, and right behind her, Sydney Pickram, who has so much international experience and who has medaled internationally in breaststroke events for Canada.
Yeah, we have so much depth at the moment, and that is a great problem to have. I have never been more excited to see that many names coming under that Olympic qualifying time, and it is going to be electric in this building this evening. I'm really looking forward to it, if you can't tell.
Well, here we go with heat number 1. Leading the way in lane number 4, it's Chloe Pop from the North Bay Titans. She's entered in a 1:15.48. And it is going to be Pop first to the wall, 1:14.57. Taking heat number 1. We talk about that medley relay. The last 3 long course world championships, a number of short course worlds, all the way back to Tokyo, Canada has been on the podium for the women.
Yeah, if you're qualifying for this medley relay, you are truly fighting and battling realistically for a medal on the international stage, which is such a privilege. And this was one of the moments at the World Championships last summer that resonated with so many, because we had that moment with Kylie Moss in tears, turning over to Sophie Angus, just winning her first ever international medal. She said, after a bit of a challenging meet, she was just so grateful to be there with her teammates. It's also one of the more emotional events because it's the last event of a games. It always happens on the final night of competition. So it is truly where you see, every single country, no matter which athlete race, that day, that week, that meet, you're putting your best 4 names forward. There's no more strategy. It's an empty of the tank, and it's a balls to the wall.
Well, and at 1:06.79 is that Olympic qualifying time. And as we said, we've got 4 swimmers who've recently been underneath that cut who will be swimming later on in this event. Got a number of medal performances out of Sydney Pickering. She's not swum underneath that standard individually, but she's done a great job for Canada as a part of that 4x100 medley relay. See her a little bit later leading away in this heat in lane number 5, Rachel Steinberg. Steinberg swimming for the Brantford Aquatic Club, entered in 1:14.9. You saw 1:14.57 win heat number 1.
And she is pushing away from the rest of the field. What a swim.
And Rachel Steinberg takes a second heat, 1:13.0. Nice drop for her. Heat number 2.
Yeah, just about 2 seconds off her lifetime best, and a big smile there, which is always fun to watch. Again, with the breaststroke, timing into the wall is that much more crucial because you have to touch with 2 hands simultaneously, but you also do not want to ever be too rushed into the wall, and you also don't want to glide for too long. So we'll watch different athletes time that touch, and of course the preliminaries is a good chance to then reflect upon how you may want to count your strokes a bit differently or time things a little bit adjusted into the wall for the final.
Saw that as a factor yesterday. We talked about it in the butterfly. I'm sure it will be at play here in the breaststroke as well as heat number 3 gets underway. Top seed in the 3rd heat, Pia Dimitri from Kishu, swimming in lane number 4.
And lots of youngsters. The oldest in this heat is only 17 years of age. That's Zana Juranovic from Windsor Aquatic Club. So another really great example of athletes coming to their first Olympic trials and getting a chance to swim under the lights at an event of this caliber.
Here we go through the first 50 meters. 34.52. It's Mail Sonborn swimming in lane number 5 from Pacific Coast. Sonborn, he is entered in this event in a time of 1:14.30. Strong in lanes 3 and 5 on either side of her. That's Sarah Hagen, sorry, in lane number 3, and lane number 4, it's Kaya Dimitri. Dimitri now moving up for Kishu. As we come to the finish, she's trying to get up to Sonborn in lane number 5. It's going to be close at the wall. And Sonborn, a time of 1:13.63. The best time for her, winning heat number 3.
For both of those two under the 1:14 barrier for the first time. Big smiles, big handshake, 16-year-olds getting the chance to swim at Olympic trials. And that was our 3rd heat wrapped up. We have 9 heats here this morning, so circle seated begins on heat number 7. We're gearing up for heat number 4.
Here we go with heat 4. We talked about how close those swimmers were in our last 3. It's a 1:06.58 is our top seed. That's Alexandre Lepage. 1:06.59. 1/100th back is Shona Branton. And then it's Sophie Angus at 1:06.66. So incredibly tight between those top 3. We're going to get to see them coming up in a few minutes. Number 4 underway. Abigail Gebhardt in lane number 4 from Saskatoon Goldfinns. She's got a 1:13.28 as her seed time. Gebhardt with the lead here as they come to the 50-meter wall. She's just a half body length up. Lane number 6 moving nicely as well. That's Vienna Wu from Richmond Hill. 33.28 is a split time for Gebhardt, but outside in lane there, Katie Grabowski. 33.59 split for the swimmer from the University of Calgary. Her mother won a bronze medal in the 4x100 medley relay at the Seoul, Korea Olympics in 1988. Grabowski taking a page from her book here, swimming in lane number 0 of our 4th heat of the 100-meter breast. Everybody trying to get up to Gebhardt in lane number 4. As a swimmer from the Saskatoon Goldfinns. Still has a bit of a lead as we come into the finish. 1:13.28 is their seed time. And Gebhardt to the wall. Good drop at 1:12.39.
A really awesome swim there. In control, I would like to say. She has a very relaxed appearance, at least, of her breaststroke, and she looked like she was moving really well through the water. So awesome. Big drop, like you said. About a second off her personal best time. Doesn't look absolutely thrilled, but she definitely just nodded her head. Okay, I'm happy. I won my heat.
And it's a good start for her and for her meet. First event up for her. Move on to heat number 5 now. Adriana Martone will be swimming in lane number 4 from the Barrie Trojans. The fastest seeded swimmer we've seen so far, entered in a 1:12.67. Martone, 17 years of age.
We also have Danielle Hannes in here. We typically see Danielle swim the backstroke. She's going to be in lane 2 here in the 100 breaststroke.
Not often do we see her in this event. You're absolutely right. Hannes looking very strong here.
She trains out of the HPC Vancouver team as well with Scott Talbot. We've seen quite a few of them this morning. A great kind of resurgence of that center, as it's been a couple of years since we've had a solid crew training, and now Scott's there. They've really come into their own, and I feel like that sense of team is really reignited.
And Martone turning first at a 33.38 for the first 50 meters. She does have half a second up on Paige Banton, swimming in lane number 7. Martone in the middle of the pool, looking very strong. Lane number 5 now moving up. That's Lane Burbeck from the Olympian Swim Club. And also keep your eye on lane number 2. Hannes is still up. She is with the leaders. It's going to be a good finish also out of lane 7, Paige Banton. And Banton at the wall, 1:12.35. Taking a little bit more than a half second off of her sea time to take our 5th heat.
And we're seeing Hannes at the moment as well. There you see our heat winner, Paige Banton. Looks pretty content with that race. Gearing up for one more heat before we get into our circle seed and all these names we've been chatting about.
And so we've got a number of juniors that we've seen so far, and a number of these junior age swimmers that will be in our uncircle seeded heats will likely be into that junior final, contending for a spot on the Junior Pan Pacific Championship team. Happening in Australia later this summer. Get it going now with heat number 6. Danielle Barbary in lane number 4 from the Nanaimo Riptides entered first, 1:12.48. Off the blocks quick, and a good start here in lane number 3. That's Abigail Clark from the Cascade Swim Club. She's moving nicely. She's entered in a 1:12.48.
You can see how important the catch is in each stroke. So from that angle, you could see the wide pull with each breaststroke, and then you want to surge forward with that kick. It is all about timing that process perfectly.
Lane number 6, Emilia Mastro Mateo, 32.83. Saw her brother competing in the 100-meter breaststroke final last night.
Runs in her blood.
It sure does, and she is looking good as well. 32.83 on her first 50. She's entered in 1:12.5, just a tenth of a second back behind the leaders. And Master Mateo out in front. Ella Collins in lane number 5 from Acadia University right there as well. On the other side is Bodan from Samak. And look at this finish out of lane 9. What a finish by Shima Tagvi. 1:11.47. A full second off of that seed time, and a great swim for the 12-year-old. It's the youngest swimmer that we have seen so far. 1:11.47. It's Hayat Shima Tagavi. A great finish, taking heat number 6.
Imagine being 12 years old at these trials. Wow. We're gonna have to keep an eye on that name for sure.
Great swim for the youngster from the Hayak Swim Club in New Westminster, BC. As here we go with heat number 7. This is the first of our last 3 circle seeded heats, Brittany.
And we are excited about it. As you mentioned, Sophie Angus is one of those 3 ladies we've been chatting about that are within a tenth of a second, and only 2 can qualify. Now there's lots chasing them, but she has to be one of the favorites. We have a lot of hope about breaststroke. It's been one of our challenges in the last few years when it comes to the medley relay. We've had Megan McNeil in the fly. We've had Kylie Moss in the back. We've had Penny Alexiak. We've had Summer McIntosh in the free. But we have missed a breaststroker, and Sophie Angus stepped up to the plate last year at the World Championships and said, I am ready and I am here. A lifetime best out of her for the relay split. And of course now she wants to go to her first Olympic Games.
Well, 31.55 is the first split. That's only 2/100ths of a second back of the split that she did when she went 1:06.66. That's the time she did in the semifinals at the Worlds here in Doha. who's looking very good there in lane number 4.
Another athlete that swims out of this very pool every day. So HBC Ontario with Coach Ryan Millett.
And Sophie Angus looking to put up the fastest time that we've seen so far this morning. I'm sure she's going to do it at 1:07:02. A strong morning swim for Angus. Just over that Olympic qualifying time, just a couple tenths of a second over her lifetime best, but really getting out there nice and grabbing hold of this one on that first 50.
Yeah, and also just completely a deep breath. Honestly, all I saw was her just look up at the clock and take one big deep breath. She nodded her head and said, okay, to be that close to your personal best time in the morning. She also was really long into the wall, so that timing is something she's going to talk with her coach about, fine-tuning those final couple strokes to make sure you are surging with speed and not necessarily gliding too long into the wall.
Getting ready now for heat number 8. Shona Granton swimming in lane number 4 from Western University.
And what a cool story. Just like out of nowhere, she has just surged into our books of people we need to keep an eye on. I was reading about her coach and how confident Paul Midgley at the Western University feels about this athlete. They're working toward their goals. She says, I don't feel any pressure or nervous energy. She's building on her confidence. She believes in herself, and she seems so composed and relaxed. I actually just saw her in the parking lot this morning, and she waved out her window. Talk about relaxed going into her first year Olympic trials preliminaries as one of the favorites.
Right out like a rocket, though, in lane number 5. We talked about her, Sid Pickram. She is first to the 50 wall at 31.6. She does come to this meet with a lifetime best of 1:07.2. It does go back 5 years, though, to a pro swim meet in 2019. She's out faster than she was when she did that time, so looking good as Pickram in lane number 5. Brandon is right there, just 200ths of a second back. She's starting to pick up steam and pulling herself up and almost even with Pickram.
Yeah, Pickram is saying, wait a minute, I'm not out of this fight yet. I want to still swim this medley relay because she has gotten the chance to do it for a couple years now.
It looks like it's going to be Brandon at the touch, not by much. 1:07.23 to 1:07.29. Solid swim by both of these ladies this morning for Pickram. That's just 9/100ths of a second over her lifetime best.
Yeah, and she is now kind of getting the cobwebs out for her first race of these trials. A lot of our 100 breaststrokers, this is the first we've seen them so far at trials. So that prelim swim, you never fully know what to expect, but it is nice when it's over. You can get your spot into the final, you can take a deep breath, and you can move forward.
So here we go with our 9th and our final heat. The top seed is in lane number 4, Alexandre LePage. Representing the University of Calgary at 1:06.58, a time she did at the World Junior Championships, winning the gold medal.
And we talked earlier about that 400 IM being kind of a training event. Mike Blundell, the coach of Alexandre LePage, told me she actually doesn't need too much breaststroke training. She has a strong 400 IM, and he likes to train her for the 400 IM. So talk about versatility. This is a great example of someone that can do quite a few different events. Definitely her best shot, though, of qualifying at the Olympic level will be in this race, clearly.
Well, keep your eye also on Kelsey Wog in lane number 5 from the University of Manitoba Bison. She actually has the fastest lifetime best of any of the swimmers entered in this event. It's a 1:06.44. Was a time she did at the U Sport Championships in 2020. 31.7 is the split for LePage. Wog is at 32.0. She's more recently been known as a 200-meter breaststroker. She's no slouch in this one either.
And they are shaping up to be quite the final session in this race, and like I said, this is the race I'm most excited about of these trials because it could be anybody's race, and Wog says, I am still here and I am still the favorite.
Great finish. You see that 200 breaststroke training coming here at the end as Wog first to the wall, 1:07.12. That is a very solid morning swim for Kelsey Wog. Fastest time she's been from a flat start and a bit.
So
Page a second, 1:07.3 right there.
we now have 5 ladies that are within, 3 or 4 tenths of each other, and also within 3 or 4 tenths of that Olympic qualifying standard. It is quick. We don't want to just assume that 2 can get under. It will be likely that we can get there, but it is going to take some lifetime bests, and right on those lifetime bests of that 1:06.8 standard.
You see the top 5 swimmers just separated by 3 tenths of a second as it scrolls through. And just as Brittany said, that is shaping up to be one heck of a final tonight.
It truly is anybody's race, and that's what these trials are all about. You have a lane, you have a chance, you want it bad enough, you're going to the Olympic Games.
Here we go now with our next event, our first pair event of the morning. It's the women's 100-meter breaststroke. And as we talked a little bit about yesterday, it's a multi-class event. We have a few different categories swimming here tonight, or sorry, this morning, S5 all the way through to S14.
And breaststroke is one of our strengths, especially on the women's side. When we look at the Paralympic program, we have test route lift. We have, as you can see, as we can look up towards the pool deck that I'm looking down on, Kat Roxon. We've also got Ruby Stevens, Abby Tripp. We have a ton, Shelby Newkirk. There's a ton of some of those names that we continue to talk about in the Paralympic program for Team Canada, and they all happen to be breaststrokers. And as you mentioned, Jason, this is a multi-class race. So within this heat are going to be athletes across many different classifications, and they will have a total Paralympic point score. So we'll have to keep an eye on the number that's going to be on the left of their screen, of their time. And we're going to get to watch for their para points. And that helps do the calculation for us because, Jason, I don't know about how quick your math is, but it would definitely take us quite a bit to figure out who was in the lead.
I've only got so many fingers and toes in front of me to be doing that math, Brittany, so it is well beyond me. But the software is taking care of that these days, and that is exactly what you see. You see a point score starting to count down as we come down towards the end of the race. It does all that work for us. Ready for the first and our only heat of the women's 100-meter breaststroke here for the para multi-class swimmers.
And eyes on lane 5, Katarina Roxon. She is an SB8, and when we say SB, that is because the breaststroke has a different classification. So keep an eye on that. SB, she is from Kippens, Newfoundland. She is a 3-time Paralympian, and this is her main bread and butter event. She won this event at the 2016 Paralympic Games. So talk about a really successful resume. I also want to take a chance to chat about Tess Routledge. She is an SB7, and she is coached out of the HPCQC by Simon Daguerre and Mary Bergeron. She has the 200 IM and the 100 breaststroke, but she is a little bit into her redemption era because she qualified for the Tokyo Paralympic team. Unfortunately, was not able to compete in those games because she broke her back right before it happened. Of course, Tess is swimming out of lane number 6.
And she is out in a time of 43.24, top to the wall on time, 39.98. That is Maxime Levitte. In lane number 4, Katarina Roxon, 40.2. Just behind her as it got a little bit less than 20 meters to go now on our second 50 of the women's 100-meter breaststroke. Routledge is sitting in, I think, 3rd. And as it is a multi-class event, a lot of them are just racing against each other and their own personal best as we come to the finish. Looks like it's going to be lane number 4, Levitte. She's entered in a 126.36, right under at 126.30. Hitting the wall first just ahead of Katarina Roxon. And a good swim by Routledge in lane number 6, 131.81.
Yeah, that's a really solid morning swim for Routledge as well, and Roxon looks decently happy with that. I was chatting with some of her coach and support staff recently where it seems like she's gaining her love back for the sport. She has been in this sport for quite some time. 31 years of age, that's very experienced as an athlete, but it really does take sometimes a little reset. She's now training out of the University of Laval and moved kind of to Quebec City to make sure that refresh and change gets her towards that 4th Paralympic Games.
Here we go. All of our swimmers now in event number 307. This is the women's 100-meter breaststroke. And summary coming on the board.
And Tess, solid point score there for para points, 992. So she'll be the favorite coming into finals. They are still seeded lane-wise based on their times. So to qualify through to the finals, it is based on your para points for each Paralympic event. There will be one multi-class final. So the top 10 highest ranked based on their para points will get to compete at the final tonight. This one is a little bit different. Of course, we only had one heat, so all of them will get the chance to swim it. But a maximum of 3 swimmers per sport class are eligible to compete at the Paralympic Games. So something definitely to keep an eye on as we gear up for finals later this evening.
And just as you said, a good swim by Routledge. 992 points, just a half second over Canadian record, over the world record in this event. Ready for our one and only heat of the men in the pair 100 meter breaststroke multi-class.
And James LaRue in lane 5, he's an SB9, and interesting, he's only classified to race breaststroke. He swims as well with Raoul Liff at the HPC QC, and as mentioned, SB9 category. Nicholas Bennett, though, that's someone we've been chatting quite a bit about. I know recently at the Canadian Open about a month ago, he was here and he went a Canadian record in the 200 freestyle. Kind of shoots out like a rocket. He has a beautiful technical freestyle stroke. Now we get the chance to watch him in the breaststroke. Of course, he's in the lead at the moment in lane 4.
And a pair of swimmers swimming very well through the first day already. We saw a number of records yesterday, and they're looking pretty strong this morning. Bennett through the first 50 meters of breaststroke at 30.03. He's the Canadian record holder in this event, a time of 104.41. I see it here this morning in a 105.33.
And Bennett from Red Deer, Alberta, he's coached by his sister, Haley, and what a great story the two of them are. They have this special bond and understanding of what each other requires. He says, I want my resume to be her resume, and that she's the next best thing for Canadian swimming. How special for your brother to really admire and look up to you and trust you with his program.
And a good swim by Bennett. Look at this, 104.43, just 2/100ths of a second over his Canadian record. Great swim this morning. And then second in lane number 5, that is LaRue, a time of 1:14.10. Followed by lane number 3, Fernando Liu from the Langley Olympians. And then in lane number 6, that's Charles Michel, Golden Horse Aquatics.
Yeah, and if you're wondering at home, with the classifications on the para program, S1 through 10 are physical impairments. Most affected is the lower numbers, least affected to the higher numbers. And then S1 through 13 are visual impairments. S14 is anyone with an intellectual impairment. So keep that in mind as we are getting through. We will have para events on every day of this program here at this Olympic and Paralympic swimming trials. And definitely as each night goes, we'll be able to tell you who is likely to qualify for that Paralympic roster this summer.
Some good swimming here for this morning. Those of you that are leaving us now as we get ready for the time trial events, just a reminder that we're back at 6 p.m. to start our final session here, day 2 at the 2024 Olympic and Paralympic trials presented by Bell.
And Jason, I think that prelims tells us everything we need to know about how exciting tonight's finals are. Truly, there are pretty much every event across the board. It will be a battle between multiple athletes to try to get on that Olympic and Paralympic roster. So if you are going to tune into one night and one night only, this might be one of the nights you have to keep an eye on.
Well, I mean, it's the individual events plus a number of relay spots that are up for grabs. Like, you could be putting all sorts of people on the team, nominating them here tonight. So a very exciting night shaping up.
Sure is. So tune in 6 p.m. Everything gets started. Stream starts around 5:45, and there's going to be lots of exciting action to tune into on CBC Gem.
Attention coaches, we get coach from Manitoba to the illustration desk, please. We also ask for the kid Williams, Terry Ball, and Lenochi Parker to make their way to the illustration desk, please.
So we had that, as well as the relays of those individual events. One event, obviously, probably thank goodness for the athlete, there is no 4x400 meter medley relay, but because of the length of that event. But we do have Tristan Yankovic putting up one heck of a swim in that 400 IM for the men to be our top qualifier. You see him battling for an individual spot along with Lauren Wigington and others. Tess Rutleff this morning coming close to that Canadian record in the 100 meter breaststroke. A very exciting start for the meet for her. We have a number of time trial events coming up in just a moment's time. We have the women's 200 meter freestyle this morning, the men's 200 meter freestyle, the women's 100 meter backstroke, and the 100 meter breaststroke for the men. well as the 1500 meter freestyle. Getting ready now for 200 meter freestyle. We have 8 heats in this event. Heat number 1. Here we go with the first heat of the 200 meter freestyle. Very good swims from these athletes yesterday in our time trial events. Our opportunity to race. All of our swimmers can swim as many as 1 event per day as part of the time trials here being offered up at the Olympic trials. Leading the way to the first 50 at 30.1 in this event at no time. Well, 102.80 and lane number 7 for Lehman.
And important to note to all of the viewers still on the stream that this event cannot be qualified through to the finals tonight. So all of these events are swimming as kind of a bonus round to get the chance to race. Often people qualify to these trials in 1 event or sometimes 2, but to get the most out of their experience here, they have the opportunity to swim in these time trials. And still, like we've mentioned yesterday, a really great opportunity to race.
Absolutely. Come to the end of this one, sort of last 50 of this one. Lehman into 136.4, out by a little bit less than a second from Isabel Peng, swimming in lane number 2. We do have one of our para athletes in this one, Ali Van Wicksmart from Whitney. She's swimming in lane number 3. It does look like this is going to be Alina Lehman in lane number 7, swimming unattached and out of lane number 7 in the first heat, 2:10.06.
Keep an eye on Ali Van Wicksmart in lane number 3. She's just approaching the halfway mark of this race, so she will turn at the wall and has 2 more laps to go.
There's Ali Van Wicksmart. She's does swim in the para S3 category. 2:34.30.
Ali Van Wicksmart, Coach Don Burton, trains out of here with a lovely development program at the High Performance Center as well. She represents Variety Village, and she was on the Tokyo Paralympic team.
So Van Wicksmart seated at 5 minutes, 15 seconds, 0.54. Tokyo 2020 Paralympic team. she is now coming to the last wall. And Rick Smart turning at 3:52.72 on her way back. She's pretty close right now to where she needs to be to get underneath that C time. She's at 1:18.4 on that last 50. She can manage that again. She should be down close to that 5:15, perhaps even better.
With about 25 meters to go, you'll start to hear this crowd get a little bit louder, support her through to this final stretch of the race.
And Van Wyck Smart now coming to the false start rope. You'll see little markers on the lane ropes indicating 15 meters left to go for her. Just past it now. Behind us, starting to pick it up. And again, that entry time of hers is a 5:15.54. See how close she gets to that here. This is Ellie Van Wyck Smart in lane number 3. Best time there underneath that C time, at least at 5:10.16, that's like 5 seconds. We're in our first heat.
The results are just official. And we'll gear up for our second heat of the women's tuna freestyle.
The second heat. A number of 214 seated swimmers in the middle of the pool. And Swinnerton from Toronto Swim Club, top seed in heat 2 with a 2:14.28. I'm swimming in lane number 4. Turcotte, lane number 5 from C&Q, not far behind at a 2:14.48. Heat number 2 now. We have 8 heats in this women's 200-meter freestyle event. A pretty good start in lane number 4, Hannah Swinnerton from the Toronto Swim Club. At 30.4 out in front, though. Catherine Larkington in lane number 1 from eSwim. Swimming a 30.27 split on her first 50.
It's quite the race in this heat, actually. Still about 5 of them across the pool you can see battling out as we approach the halfway mark.
Yeah, 1, 2, 4, and 5 come to that 100 wall together. Tight, look at that's even at 104.21 in lanes 1 and 4. 100 to the second back is lane number 5, 104.23. That is Turcotte chasing down Hannah Swinnerton and Catherine Warkington in lane number 1 from Etobicoke.
Catherine came off that wall really strong out of lane number 1. Definitely used the turn to her advantage. Her split was even with the rest of the field. If anything, it was a little slower, but she decided on that third 50, she is ready to get the legs involved.
Well, and she's only seated at 2:18.71. 4 seconds back from the middle of the pool, but she is a race leader. She turns first at a 1:38.3. She's put 34.1 on that 50, so she is down and pacing for 2:12, 2:13. We'll see what she can get out of herself here in this last 35 meters. Turcotte in lane number 5, trying to get her way back up the front, and keep your eye on lane number 3 as well. Ava Harlows from Regina Dolphins. Harlows finishing very strong. She has pushed herself up into the lead now. Looks like this one is going to go to lane number 3. Ava Harlows from the Regina Dolphins, time of 2:11.83. Drop by almost 3 seconds, winning our second heat.
Yeah, that's awesome to watch. Anytime you watch a personal best, but especially when they get the opportunity here to race, to go a best time, and especially dropping 3 seconds. I don't know about you, Jason, but I don't not remember the last time I dropped 3 seconds in a race.
Certainly doesn't happen as often as you'd like it, but a great job by Harlows here in our second heat. This is the third heat now. Looks like we got another youngster in this one. In lane number 4 from the Barrie Trojans, it's 11-year-old Kaya Hornby. He's the top seed. He's entered in a 2:12.33.
We do have different heat sheets now. She's born in 2011, so she's probably either 13, maybe only 12, still very young, of course, but yet to be confirmed. So we'll hear probably from her parents at the end of the day what age she is this week.
You're right. They did switch up the heat sheets. The information we got is a little bit different than we had in the rest of the meet earlier on. So not 11, but born in 2011. So still a youngster either way.
And she's leading the race so far, Kaya Hornby, in lane 4 at the moment. First 29.89, just sinking under that 30-second barrier at the first 50.
Right with her is Jessica Moran in lane number 5. She was 9/100ths of a second back at 29.9. They're going to come to that 100 ball together, lanes 4 and 5. Hornby and Moran. And 1:03.06 to 1:03.07. Advantage Moran at lane number 5, just ahead of Hornby. They're both entered down at 2:12.3s. Should be able to get down to that time if they can hold that pace here. We got 75 meters left to go. There goes Hornby at 1:38.14. She's got 0.3 of a second up on Moran. Moving nicely in lane number 3, Shayda Tagavi. And Tagavi, we do know she's one of the youngsters. She won that outside heat of the 100-meter breaststroke.
It's a close one coming home to the wall.
Look at this, lanes 2, 3, and 4 all together. Lane 6 in the mix as well, but it's going to be Tagavi from Hayek in a time of 2:11.99. Heat number 3.
That's the best feeling as a swimmer when you see that 0.99 show up to get right under a second, no matter what the second is. This one is the 2:12 barrier, but it's definitely a lot better than seeing the 0.00 when you look up at the clock.
Absolutely. Heat number 4 now. Top seed is Island swimming. Sailor Noss swimming in lane number 4, 2:11.17. 2:10.0, still the fastest time from heat number 1. As this one gets underway.
Another shot out like a rocket on the bottom of your screen. Sophie Kissick with a 0.65 reaction time, and then she's made the most of it. As you can see, she should be flipping first here at the wall.
And Kissick and Noss coming to that 50 wall together. And it is, but look at this, lane number 8, Bridget Rupert. She's out in front, 29.87. She's got 1/100th of a second ahead of Maya Tomic, sitting in lane 7. Very close field for that first 50 meters. Kissick down in lane number 0, representing Etobicoke. New swim program as they come to the 100 wall together, moving up beside her. It looks like lane number 1, Chloe Baker from Cascade, has moved up beside Kissick as they come to the 100 together. Kissick 1:02.35. Lane number 5, as Kia Craig turns in 1:02.98. Followed by Baker in lane number 1 as they get onto the back half of this race. 75 meters to go for the race leaders now. And Kissick entered in a 2:12.13. Solid second 50 down to 32.3.
She's setting herself up definitely for a PB here because she still looks quite strong through the water, staying away from that wall, making sure she's not in the gutter.
35.7 is her time. She's got a half second up on University of Calgary's Kia Craig in lane number 5. They both split 33.3 on that 50, as did Bridget Rippert in lane number 8. She's at 136.80, so they're all splitting pretty evenly. Your top 3 swimmers. McKissick making a push. She's got plenty of energy here in her legs down at the bottom of your screen in lane number 0. As he swims, Sophie Kissick looking to get under a 2:12.13 entry time. And she's going to do that pretty handily. Look at this, 2:08.47. A great job from Kissick in lane number 0. And heat number 4.
Awesome time drop there for the young swimmer. A little biased because that was my club team, but she was awesome there in the outside lane. As you mentioned, entered with a 2:12, dropping down to a 2:08.47.
Good swim to put up the fastest time we've seen in this time trial for the women's 200-meter freestyle so far. On to heat number 5 now. Sydney Stewart in lane number 4 from the University of Calgary is the top seed. She's entered in 2:10.47. A great start out of lane number 3, Rena Liu. She's unattached. Off with a good underwater and breakout. She is moving in lane number 3. 2:47 is a 4-second personal best for Sophie Kissick in a previous heat from Etobicoke Swimming. He's turning in at 28.86, and where we saw the race leaders in the previous heat. And Liu spreading that gap on the field now is more than a full body length up on lane number 4. Sydney Stewart as Liu comes to the 100 wall here in lane number 3, out in front quick in a 1:00.52. 31.6 split on that second 50 for Rena Liu. Again, swimming unattached and doing a good job on this one. That's getting the closest competitor by a full second on that second 50. Good pace control, 31.7 on that third 50, 1:32.28. Challenge to be at 2:04 here. We'll see what she's got left of the last 25 meters. Rena Liu putting a good 200-meter freestyle down here in the 4th heat. And it's going to be a nice drop for her as she comes to the finish in lane number 3, 2:10.67 is the entry time, 2:03.99, just under that 2:04, the 31.7 on her last 50. Winning heat number 5. Rena Liu swimming unattached. Heat number 6 of 8, as these are all time final events. Nothing is circle seated, it's just seated slowest to fastest, so everybody fairly even now across the board as we get to our last few heats. It's heat number 6.
We saw Marianne Gabazit-Scarson have a strong 400 freestyle yesterday out of these heats. Another e-swimmer. Sure today will be no different.
There we go. It is Taylor McPherson in lane number 4 in the Nanaimo Riptides. The top-seeded swimmer at a 2:08.98. We start at lane number 1. That's Julia Norman. So her brother swim the 100-meter backstroke. Put up a great swim this morning to put himself into the A final in contention for a spot tonight. We'll see how Julia does here in lane number 1, sitting in 200 meters freestyle. She's out in front, 29.53 for the first 50.
A really good first 50. As you said, we have a ton of siblings here, which is always so fun to watch. Julia Norman out there. I love her technique. If you watch her stroke, nice, long, and strong. You can definitely tell she uses her height to her advantage when she swims.
Yeah, lots of nice high elbows in that technique for Norman in lane number 1. It's now to the 100 wall, out in front at the 50, out in front at the 100 at 1:02.0, half a second up on lane number 5. Capiza Garzon for E-swim. Turns second at a 1:02.58.
And she's building into this race, as you can see there. Mariana Capiza Garzon is definitely one of those mid-distance freestylers where we watch can take it from the 400 down to the 200, and this is where it matters. This third 50, arguably as any athlete, the third 50 of any race is the strongest. It should be, sorry, the strongest as it's the hardest.
And here we go, Norman turning 1:34.5, but Capiza Garzon with a good she outsplit everybody by 0.2 of a second on that last 50, 72.2 to 32.4. Moving up, she's within striking distance of Norman. It's a 1:34.5 to a 1:34.8. They've got a little bit over 15 meters to go, and Capiza Garzon has really grabbed a hold of the finish here. And it's going to be Capiza Garzon in lane number 5 at 2:06.82, winning our 6th heat.
She's excited about that one, definitely surprised. She was not expecting a time that quick, as you can imagine. A 2:09.0 as an entry to drop about 2 and a bit seconds off is a really, really great accomplishment.
Great swim out of Maria Capiza Garzon from E-swim in lane number 6. It's our 7th and penultimate heat. Gets ready to dive in. Top seed is lane number 4, Bridget Burton from the UBC Thunderbirds. In a 2:06.86. We saw a 2:03.99 done in heat number 5 by Rihanna Liu, swimming unattached. It's the fastest time that we've seen in the women's 200-meter freestyle so far. The first 50 meters is lane 0, Justice Daniel out in a 29.38. Daniel from Point Claire entered in a 2:08.80.
Pretty even field right now as we approach the 100, but not to be surprised, we have an outside smoker out in lane number 0, Juliette Dagno, still looking strong here at the 100 turn.
1:01.26 is her split time. She's up on the field by a little bit more than a half second. Claire Christie in lane number 5, she turns second. Christie swimming for the Granite Gators. She's entered a second faster than Daniel at 2:07.85. Daniel, your race leader in lane number 0 as the field tries to move back up. On lane number 7, moving nicely. That's Marley Windsor. And Windsor, swimming for the Kyushu Swim Club, is up and very close as they come to the 150 wall. She's actually in front at 1:33.9 to Daniel's 1:34.1. And a very strong looking finish happening here in lane number 7. Marley Windsor really moving with 25 meters left to go. And Windsor from Kyushu entered in a 2:08.36. Should be down at the 2:05 range here. Let's see what she gets to. And it's Windsor in lane 7, 2:05.56. A nice drop for her. It's about 3 seconds in heat number 7.
And two big smiles as we look to the swimmers just touching the wall. There's relief, there's excitement, there's personal best times, and awesome accomplishments here.
We go then with our 8th and our final heat of the women's 200-meter freestyle. On this one, it's Cameron Standard from UBC Thunderbirds and Nanaimo Riptides in lane number 4. She's the top seed at 2:04.91. Good start in first 25 out of lane number 2. That's Annie Courtmarsh representing Camo. She's entered at 2:05.67. Pretty hard out there through the first 50 meters. Courtmarsh at 28.82, just ahead of Alexia Kovalak in lane 6 from Camo. Both your race leaders here representing Camo. It's Collective Collective Montreal. Daniel Treasure in lane at number 7 from the University of Western University Swimming in London. Up and to contend against Kovalak. She turns it a 1:01.0. Megan McKenzie from Toronto Swim Club in lane number 5. She's now in second at 1:01.23, but she is now really picking it up.
Yeah, and another great second split for Ellie Couture out in lane number 0. At the bottom of the screen, the third 50. I started talking about it and then I kind of rushed through my statement, but it really is the build of a 200. Whatever stroke it is, it takes you from, you know, being in the mix to separating yourself. And talk about separating yourself, Mackenzie. Tegan McKenzie with an awesome 31.86 in the third 50.
A great third 50 out of McKenzie. 1:33.09 is her split time. She's got a half second on Kovalak in lane number 6. And Danielle Treasure is right there as well in lane number 7. So your leaders in our final heat in 5, 6, and 7. It's McKenzie with the momentum, though, from the Toronto Swim Club in lane number 5, trying to get underneath that time. Entry time of hers is 2:04.98. She's going to be just over. Winning, though, in a time of 2:05.34.
Lots of deep breaths there as they touch the wall. That one is done, and behind them, they'll head to the warm down pool and get set for the rest of their competition. Again, we are at day 2 in the morning here of a long and grueling 7-day competition, so lots more racing to go.
It's been an awful long time, and I'm not even sure we've ever had a 7-day trials competition before. So those swimmers, in particular, those swimmers swimming multiple events like Summer McIntosh all the way through, have got to be able to pace themselves one swim to another. This will be the men's 200-meter freestyle. This is a time trial event. We have 7 heats here.
And you see the athletes shaking their arms out behind the blocks. It's also one of those swimmer things. You're always doing arm swings. You're always shaking out. I feel like it's half a head game and half it's actually helping, because so many of us do it as a piece of routine. You have kind of that superstitions of what you like to do behind the blocks. Slapping the chest is another one. Splashing with water is another one you might see.
Well, probably one of the most famous ones that we're all familiar with, the Phelps flap.
Yes, of course.
So he does that before his golf games. Seeing him competing as a top-level amateur. We've got 2 swimmers in this first heat. Simon McClure in lane number 4 from eSwim, and in lane number 5, Anton Kunetsov from the Fredericton Aquanauts.
It's close out of 50. I mean, this really is kind of like a duel in the pool. There's two athletes. It's almost like a swim off. Two athletes in the pool. One chance to be your heat winner. They're going to get to push each other, hopefully maybe to a best time or two. But doesn't matter how many people are in your heat. You got a lane, you got a chance, you got a race, you got an opportunity.
Absolutely. Taking advantage of that opportunity now is McClear in lane number 4 from Eastland. He's entered in 2:08.99. Pretty quick, a 1:00.02. 31.4 on that second 50. Kuznetsov turns second at 1:02.10. He's entered in 2:26.5. Kuznetsov much faster than that. Shot of the swimmers coming into the last wall. Splitting nicely on that third 50, actually dropping the pace that he's holding at 31.0.
It really did appear to be a close race at the 50, and now we're seeing exactly why you can't count anybody out. An amazing swim there for Simon McClure.
And there we go, 2:02.82, 6 seconds off of his seed time. Happy with that one, Simon McClear from Eastland. 2:13.55, a 13-second drop out of Anton Kuznetsov. Aquatics sitting in lane number 5. And youngsters taking advantage of the opportunity here in our time trials. Ready for a second heat. This one, our top seed in lane number 4 is Dominic Grecian from Grand Prairie Piranhas. His teammate Oliver Dawson put up a good 100 meters of breaststroke last night as a junior. He swam in the senior A final. Leading the way as they go to the first 50 meters is lane number 3, Casey McDermott. McDermott in the Summerland Orca Club. Entering in 2:03.82, but it's actually Henry Valancourt from Cam O. First to the 50 wall, 26.94. Down in lane number 1 at the bottom of your screen. There we go, 56.66 is the split time for Valancourt. In a 2:04.52. Much better than that here through the first 125 meters, 75 meters to go. Number 3, Casey McDermott is sitting in second. McDermott entered in a 2:03.82. As we mentioned earlier, as it comes to the last wall, it's going to be Valancourt in lane number 1. He's got a body length on McDermott. Return splitting 1:27.68. The field sitting back almost 2 seconds. Just over a 31.0 on that 50. We'll see if he can pick it up here. He should be able to get under 2 minutes. It's going to be a great drop. At least 4.5 seconds if he can do that. He's seated at 2:04.52. Young Valancourt in lane number 1, winning the second heat, 1:58.91. 2 minutes in lane number 3, Casey McDermott taking nearly 4 seconds off of his seat time to go 1:59.95.
Awesome swims. To get 2 under that 2-minute barrier, especially with entry times into the 2:03, 2:04, 2:05 range. So really, really great performances there.
And I don't know if we mentioned this yet, but we do have 7 heats of this time trial 200 freestyle, and we're about to start heat number 3.
saw that as well. We'll see if everybody else did.
Did I say that out loud? My apologies. We saw a little bit of a wiggle on the block. That was lane 5, it appears. Nicholas Purdy took a slight twitch.
We'll see what happens with that, but looking strong in lane number 4, Maxime Yermenko from Camo. Yermenko's the top seed here at 2:00.30, just over that 2-minute mark, up quickly, 26.80 to the first 50. 2/10 of a second up on Jacob Milakovic in lane number 7. Right up there with him is David Cortez in 3, his Camo teammates. So the two swimmers from Camo in lanes 3 and 4, Cortez and Yermenko. Right in front as they come to the 100 wall. Cortez seated at 2:00.04. Yermenko at 2:00.30. 6:86 is a split time. Jacob Bujev attached in lane number 1 right there as well. 57.0, 2/10 of a second back from the leaders. Matteo Centini from Langley. He'll be up with the leaders as they come to the last wall. It is Yermenko in lane number 4. He turns at 1:26.92. He's 30.0 on that 50. You can see a 1:58.9 done in the previous heat. Henri Valencourt, his Camo teammate. So Camo looking pretty strong here this morning in these 200-meter freestyles. Cortez in lane number 3, moving now, trying to get up and by his teammate Yermenko. And Cortez slingshotting around the outside. It's going to be David Cortez at 1:56.72.
It's an awesome closing speed, and that's exactly what the coaches want to see here. 29.31 on that final 50. Teammates going neck and neck there, both representing Camo, as you mentioned. So they've probably done that in practice once or twice before.
Great to see the teammates battling pretty hard against each other here. In our time trial events, getting the most out of each other. We're now to our 4th of 7 heats. We have some of our swimmers, almost the entire heat actually, seated under 2 minutes. Top of those will be Alexandre Lepine from Neptune, sitting in lane number 4. 1:58.92 is his entry time. And off they go. Good start out of lane number 2. That's Maxime Cambron from CNQ. He's seated at 1:59.64. He's great off the blocks, really good on underwater on that breakout. Is going to be first to the 50 wall by the looks of it, 26.6. 2/10 of a second up on Zach Milnes, swimming in lane number 8 in the Campbell River Killer Whales. Maxime Cambron looking very smooth and very steady in lane number 2 as they come to the 100. 6:93 is his split time, 30.3 his lapping time.
He did take a big breath though off the wall, so we're going to see if he went out maybe a little bit too quick.
And look at lane number 4 picking it up, Alexandre Lepine from Neptune. He turned at 57.9. He was a full second back of the race leader, but he is really moving now, and I think it's Lepine out in front as they come to the 150. It's going to be the last wall. The lead has changed, and it is Lepine at a 1:28.0. Solid 50 at 30.1. It was the fastest of any of the swimmers here on the 3rd length. Coming up in 8 and 9 as well, but Lepine holds on to win at a 1:58.24. Just ahead of lane number 8, Zach Milnes, and lane 9, Hunter Payne. Just a 1/10 and 2/10 of a second back. Waters our fifth heat. Barry Trojans, William DeBro in lane number 4, seated at 158.13. Does look like he's low, and Kevin Mayer in lane number 6. They're just 8/100ths of a second apart, 27.06 to 27.14. Looking very relaxed in lane number 4 as he goes to the 75-meter mark, leading to his right, looking over at Kevin Mayer from Eastland. Turning at 56.12 seconds. 0.3 of a second up is William DeBro. And DeBro, as we mentioned, he is coming in with a C time of 158.13, representing the Barry Trojans. You see a 156. 156.72, put up by David Cortez, and Heat 3 is the fastest time that we've had in the men's Turner Free so far. Going to be challenged here now by DeBro. He turns at 125.85 with a 29.7 split on that last 50. He's looking very strong with 25 meters left to go. It is the Barry Trojans, William DeBro. 158.13 is going to be underneath that. Looks like he's going to put up the fastest time that we have seen so far this morning. Lane number 4, DeBro, 155.04. Last heat here in the men's 200-meter freestyle time trial. Xavier Pimentel in lane number 4, University of Calgary, entered in a 156.0. Restart is lane number 3. That's Joel Blanco from the UBC Thunderbirds. Simply 156.72, 0.6 of a second back from Pimentel. Blanco through the first 50 meters, 26.45, 0.3 of a second up on North York's Paul Yang, sitting in lane number 9. And Yang seated in a 157.71. Blanco, though, breathing to his left as Yang continues to sneak up on the outside. And there is lane number 5, William Leroy, also moving nicely. Leroy turning first at 55.44. It's the fastest first 100 we've seen out of any of the men here this morning in the time trial.
And really quick there, 28.39. So he's almost building into each 50. As you can see, look how strong his kick is on this third 50.
And Leroy looking very good. William Leroy from Point Claire. He's entered in a 156.22. And a split like that, he's going to be underneath that time for sure. To that last wall, turning at a 124.1 and for 28.7 on that split.
Continuing to be consistent into that 28-second barrier, but this is the fun part when they just race it home, whatever you have left in the tank.
And Leroy from Point Claire looking to get underneath that entry time, 156.22. He's going to do that easily. It's just a matter of by how much. Lane number 5, William Leroy, winning in a 153.64. A great drop on the swimmer from Point Claire. Winning our 6th heat.
Our final heat of the men's time trial 200 freestyle.
Yeah, it is heat number 7, Brantford Aquatics, Kieran Stone in lane number 4, seated at 153.37. There we go. You would see the fastest time this morning at 153.64, done in the last heat by Point Claire's William Leroy. Solid spring and a great finish out of him. Stone in lane number 4 seated a little bit quicker, but lane number 6 out and getting a hold of this one. That's Max Malakovitz. 25.53 Malakovitz from eSwim, entered in a 153.97.
Definitely have to keep an eye on him hiding in these time trials because he is one of the athletes of the future for sure. Trains out of this very pool with the High Performance Center of Ontario and coach Ryan Millett.
And Malakovitz really going for this one out of lane number 6, 25.5 on the first 50, 53.67, a 28.1 second 50, very strong. And it looks like he's got plenty left on the legs as they turn on to the back half of the race, turning in second. 54.9, a little bit more than a second back is Kieran Stone in lane number 4. Jake Gaunt not that far back either. 1/10 of a second at 55.0. He's sprinting for UBC Thunderbirds in lane number 2 as they get to the last wall. It's Malakovitz in 6. 1:23.1. Pacing has dropped off just a little bit, but he has built himself up a full second of a cushion on the field. So you see those swimmers to the outside of him move up. That is lane number 7. That's Laurier Lafontaine-Giguère from Neptune. He's entered in a 152.0. He is really moving on lane number 7. I don't know if he's going to have enough time to get up to Malakovitz in lane number 6. It's Malakovitz at 152.28. Winning the 7th and final heat with our fastest time for the men this morning on our 200-meter time trial.
A solid way to close it out for sure to 2 152s. Both very strong lifetime best times.
Next will be the 100-meter breaststroke for the women. We just have 3 heats in this event. One of the races that Brittany and I are most excited about tonight, for sure.
I don't think we're the only ones either.
No, I would hazard a guess that we are not. A lot on the line with a lot of great swims. Very close this morning by our top athletes. We go with heat number 1. Your top seed is Isabella Cooper. Lane number 4 from the Lakeshore Swim Club. 1:21.02 is her entry time.
Couple strong starts there. 0.66. The reaction times we're tending to see at this kind of level is anywhere from about 0.60 to 0.70. Would you say, Jason?
I think that that's pretty normal for their swimmers at this age, and those can be a little bit all over the map with the youngsters, but it sits about right for these young ladies. 36.6 is a split time for Isabella Cooper. Leading away through the first 50 meters, she's swimming for the Lakeshore Swim Club. Entered in a 1:21.0. So again, one of these sort of milestone markers would be 1:20 for the female breaststrokers. We'll see if she can get underneath that, and she's set herself up pretty well with that first 50 at 36.6. And it is a time of 1:17.87 and a good drop. A little more than 3 seconds for Isabella Cooper winning that first heat. It drops all around for these swimmers in heat number 1 as we get ready for our second heat. Kayla Lauren from Grand Prairie swimming in lane number 4 is top seed for heat number 2 at a 1:16.58. Some good starts. But the fastest reaction time out of the field is 68/100 by Cameron Dale in lane number 3.
Marissa Lauren in lane 2. Yeah, really great start.
Marissa Lauren from Grand Prairie doing a great job here for the first little bit of this race. We've got 2 swimmers from Grand Prairie. Marissa Lauren in lane number 2, your leader. Kayla Lauren in lane number 4, the top seed. As it comes to the 50 wall, it's Lauren. So Lauren turning 35.0 from 10ths of a second. Up on Ashley Wilkie in 6th. Lauren has an entry time of 1:17.34. Marissa Lauren just up and ahead of Ashley Wilkie, but Wilkie now moving to the finish. And 1:14.81. It goes to lane number 6. That's Ashley Wilkie from Markham. 2+ second drop for her. Third and our final heat now, the 100-meter breaststroke for the women. Top seeded swimmer. They're going to be in lane number 5. That's Amelia Barreau. The UBC Thunderbirds entered 1:13.04. Lane number 3, Sydney Winokur from North York. Winokur entered in 1:13.77. Pretty good as they come to the 50 wall together in 3, 5, and lane number 7. Sydney Winokur turning first, 34.88 seconds. Second is Sarah Gray out in lane number 9. Away from the Kelowna Aquajets out in 35.42 seconds. And this is our third and our final heat of the women's 100-meter breaststroke.
It's exciting coming into the wall still, though. A final push there out of lane number 5, Amelia Barad.
1:14.39 is the winning time. Sydney Winokur representing the North York Aquatic Club. This is our third and final heat of the women's 100-meter breaststroke. Moving on now to the men. We have 4 heats in this event. This one, Jordan Conn in lane number 4 from North York. The fastest time at 1:08.18. heat of the men, the first heat of 4 heats in the 100-meter breaststroke. We start out of lane number 9, Rangelov. Rangelov's unattacked, entered in a 1:17.98. Looking to roll a gutter ball as he appears to be your race leader coming to the 50 wall. Rangelov, no, 30.90. Matthew Ketchen from University of Western Ontario, swinging lane number 3, is leading for the first 50 meters.
Having a solid swim. Cameron Rangelov out in lane number 9, top of the screen, was second at the 50 and still looks to be moving through the water really nicely.
He's right up there with Ketchen. Ketchen and Rangelov coming to the finish. We're close to call here as they come to the wall. 106.21 now. That's Matthew Ketchen from Western University in the first heat.
Rangelov, whether that was an old time or not, was entered in a 1:17, so he just went a 106.70. I'd call that a pretty good lifetime best.
11-second drop in 100, I will say so. Some out of lane number 9 for Cameron Rangelov. We're in our first heat. Ready for heat number 2 now, and it's Guillaume Levesque from Neptune, seated first in a 107.53. The 100-meter breaststroke. Swum for the men yesterday. That was the event that was won by Finlay Knox. And we've got a few competitors who swum that, particularly the younger competitors who swum that event yesterday, swimming it again here today. Just trying to get another swim under their belt, taking advantage of this state of full preparation here at the Olympic trials. Now to the 50 wall. It looks like it's lane 5 or lane 7 there out in front. Number 5, Brandon Hatchie from Killarney, turning in 31.44 seconds, 2 cents of a second on Eastman's Noah McNeil in lane 7. I did mention Levesque in lane number 4 is the top seed at a 107.53.
Field here as we come into the final 10 meters.
It is close in lanes 2 all the way to 7. And it is. Look at this. Lane number 5, 107.28 for the win. That's Brandon Hatchie from Killarney, first at the 50 and first at the finish. Heat number 3 of 4 here in the men's 100-meter breaststroke. London's Quad Club's Jack Haycock in lane number 4 is seated with a 106.30. Some good swims out of the previous heats here in the men's 100-meter breaststroke. Start out of lane number 4, Haycock, a top seed from London. As you mentioned, a 106.30 is his entry time. Let's see, a 106.21 by Matthew Ketchen in heat number 1. As Haycock first to the 50 wall in lane number 4, 30.15. That's the fastest first 50 that we've seen. Second is Logan Milne in lane number 5. He's a second back at 31.1. Haycock in lane number 4, still out in front. Logan Milne in lane number 5, moving up from ROC. The wall very close to the touch. Does go to lane number 5. Logan Milne, ROC swimming. Nice drop for him, down to 105.62.
And that was a great example of timing into the touch. We saw a little bit of a glide there out of lane number 4. That was Jack Haycock when Logan Milne just completely ended his stroke at the perfect time where you want to touch the wall, when you're coming in with momentum and speed, but you're also not rushed and you're not too tight.
Some good finishes out of those two swimmers here in our third heat. One heat left to go here in the men's 100-meter breaststroke. The top seed from Neptune swimming in lane number 4, Monsef Balaman, a time of 1:02.82. Good start by Balaman. Let's see if we can get him out quickly. 30.15 is the fastest first 50 we've seen out of any of these swimmers on the way out. Balaman, you see him there in the middle of the pool, looking pretty strong. Nice high tempo stroke as they come to the 50 wall. That split time is going to be just under 30 at 29.53 seconds. Good outing. Second is Ivan Sun in lane number 8, a time of 30.35. Looking to get down to that C time of his, 1:02.82.
What a fast turnovers too. You can see how his tempo, he's just motoring through the water.
Yeah, driving very quickly and a body length up on everybody as Balaman from Neptune. First to the wall, Balaman at a time of 1:03.78. Next up, this is going to be the 1,500-meter freestyle. It's a combined men's and women's event with one heat.
And this is an event yet to be contested here at the trial. So athletes swimming in this time trial likely do not have the time standard to swim it as an individual event. They get the chance to enter here, I would say this morning, but I think we're into the afternoon now.
Yeah, just a little bit of afternoon as we get going on this one and only heat of the 1,500-meter freestyle.
One heat.
The top seed is Hayden Bartok in lane number 4, entered at 16:24. Lap just under 106 to get underneath that. Out in 00.1 in lane number 3 is Jack Mills from North York. He's entered in 16:26.
Well, and considering this race is, a little over 16 minutes, the fact that we have these 5 men across the board are only separated by, less than 10 seconds should shape up for quite a battle here on our last race of the morning.
Yeah, it looks like it will, and they're pretty close there through that first 100 meters. We do have one lone female swimmer, Alexa Morgan, swimming in lane 7. She's entering in an 18:11. Swimmers there lapping now at 32 mid, so we're talking about just under 16:15 pace very early on in this one. Just to see that they're all out there together in lanes 2, 3, 5, and 6. They're just ahead. Hayden Bartok, the top seeded swimmer, he's sitting back by a little bit more than 2 body lengths here as they come to the 200-meter mark. Look at this, 2:04.8 to 2:05.3. 5/10 of a second is what separates 1 to 4.
Honestly, which the first 4 are separated at the moment by 6/10 of a second. Talk about an exciting 1500.
Well, it's pretty close, and we'll see if they can stick all together here as the race develops. Number 5 trying to make a bit of a move. That's Thomas Langlois swimming for Cam O. We mentioned Cam O a lot. The last 2 days, they seem to have hit everything right here as we go through at a time of 3:09.4. He's now 1 second up in the North York Aquatic Club. Picking up that pace now, he's down at 31 highs. Broken away from the rest of the field. They're sitting back 8 or 9 tenths on their lapping speed. Dylan Warren and Jack Mills at 32.8 and 32.9 respectively. Being pretty consistent with that splitting. 32.1 on that 50. Turns at 4:13.6 at the 400. 4:16.3, 4:16.6 for both Mills and Morin swimming in lanes 3 and 2. Really starting to separate themselves now a little bit.
We talked earlier about the evolution of small pieces of technology. We talked about the backstroke starting ledge and how a lot changes and a lot stays the same. But one thing I'm just kind of acknowledging about a race this long, the fact that we just immediately know when they flip exactly what the split they went is. We used to have coaches on the side of the deck with their paper books trying to do the math as every 50 or 100 would go and exactly what their athletes are going, and now all they have to do is turn to their left and see, okay, that was a 32.1, or okay, that was a 33.7, which is pretty cool to reflect on how far we've come.
It is. All sorts of technological innovations. We're looking at this running boards along the side of the pool, all graphicked up. Nice little addition to the 2024 Paris Olympic trials. In lane number 5, 5:18.40. It's extending that lead with every 50. Trying to get out and swim this one the rest of the way on his own. Mills and Morin, though, lapping within a tenth of each other on every length that they go. They're turning at 5:22.0, 5:22.2, pacing off each other with 19 lengths left to go. And Langlois. A good job. As we mentioned, they had to go just under 105s to get to their sea time. Well, just actually under 106s. It'll be 16:30. 105s will be 16:15s. 104s will be 16 minutes. He's on pace right now to be just over that 16-minute mark. Turns out that 600 at 6:22.9. 4 mids for his 100s. We'll see what he does for his pacing over the last little bit. A couple tenths apart again. Morin and Mills playing at 6:27s. Alexa Morgan on pace to be pretty close to her lifetime best. It's 18:11. Lap better than 1:13 to get underneath that time as we turn it to 700 for Langlois. He's just dropped off a little bit as it's 32.6 on that 50. He's at 7:28.1. 5 seconds up on both William Warren and Jack Mills as they turn at 7:33. It's going to be the halfway point at this wall. 750 meters for Thomas Langlois in lane number 5 from Camo. Turning just over 8 minutes, 8:006 with a 32.5 split. 6 seconds back are Warren and Mills in lanes 2 and 3.
Still in that 32 mid to low range, so a super consistent race put together so far for Thomas Langlois. And that was the 800 meter turn, which is one of the indicators of where you're at. You can split time in comparison. Most of these athletes would have a personal best time in the 800, so it gives them the opportunity to have something to look back on and see where they're at in terms of where they might be pacing towards in the 1500.
Yeah, pretty solid outing for Thomas Langlois. Again, he's pacing to be better than his entry time of 16:25, which is good as he's past the halfway point. He's even picked it up there. He's gone from 32.5 to 32.2, so he's not slowing down. He's splitting the next closest competitors by a second on that 50. Alexis Morgan, our lone female, in lane number 7. Snapping at 1:14 mids. There we go, 900 meters gone. Well, Langlois pacing nicely to go underneath that seat time by fair margin. It is 16:25.75. Much left to go. This is 950. This will be the 1 kilometer mark.
1 kilometer. It's crazy when you say it like that, but it is true.
It is a fair distance to go. 1,500 meter event, a metric mile.
He's got a really nice rhythm. He's bouncing well. He doesn't look like he's overexerting at any point. He continues to kind of flow nicely, consistent pacing, relaxed swimming. This looks often like a comfortable practice.
When you talk about that rhythm and that pacing, it's important to be consistent in an event this sort of length. I don't think his tempo has changed much throughout this race. How much legs he adds in here and there, that does seem to vary, but the tempo with the arms, it seems like he's been pretty consistent throughout, and you see that in his pacing, 32.4 on that last 50.
Yeah, for sure. He looks very strong and in control. Absolutely 0 legs at the back, which is pretty common in a 1500. You tend to not watch. There's too much white water in the back because they don't want to be using a ton of legs in this first half. But he's now into the final stretch of this race, so we're going to have to keep an eye on the white water beneath him.
You'll see when he starts to throw those legs in there and pick it up, doing a good job with the pacing. He dropped a couple tenths there, 32.2 on that last 50. Again, these swimmers swimming the 1500 here, they won't be swimming it again later, so trying to take advantage of the opportunity presented to them. Getting some best times here as we turn at the 1100 meter mark. 32.4 split for Langlois in lane number 5. Next we've got lanes 2 and 3. William Warren and Jack Mills coming together as they've been most of this race. And look at this, they're to the 100th together at 11:59.04.
to tie in any split. Even more rare to be tied in a 1500 at any point in the race.
Absolutely. 32-1 for Langlois. He looks like he has timed this one out right. Still great energy with those arms, nice and even tempo. It looks like he's even picking it up. I think that you're right. He's waiting to bring in those legs sometime over the next little bit. Not going to them yet, but bringing that pacing down at 32-1 on that last 50.
He's approaching the 1200 meter turn, so he's got 300 meters to go. One thing we want to keep an eye on is his entry time, 16:25.75. So he is on pace to be right around there, just under.
Yeah, doing a good job at 32-3 on that last 50. Langlois, 12:51.91. It's still 8 100ths apart. It is lanes 2 and 3. Hopefully one of them goes for it at some point here. Tries to break away from his pacing partner. Going together almost this entire race in lane number 2. William Morin from Camo in lane number 2. Jack Mills from North York in lane number 3. They're entered in 16:33 and 16:26 respectively. 5 lengths left to go for those two. Impressed with Langlois' pacing here. He's been doing this one for an awful long time, all on his own. It's a testament to the work that he and his coach and teammates have done preparing for this race. He turns at 13:56. 200 meters left to go. He'll be able to get himself under 16:10, which would be a nice drop in this race. You work for 16 minutes. You want to see a drop more than just by a second or two, and we might get that out of him here. Langlois 32.5, 14:29. Come out here at this wall.
The best sound for any distance swimmer.
The best, absolutely, and you like to hope that you count properly, but this is just there for you in case you have miscounted. 100 meters left to go, 15:02.00.
Definitely on pace for a big personal best and a time drop from his entry.
And still together, Mills and Warren in 3 and 2. Not much separating them as they get the ringing of the bell indicating 100 meters to go for them. 14 100ths of a second apart.
And here come the legs for Langlois. This is where it all comes down to. So expect that he gets that next and final gear with 50 to go.
And it looks like he's hitting it. He was even down to 31.9 on that last 50. And Thomas Langlois with just over 25 meters to go. He's done a great job in this race. As we said, he's out on his own for the longest time here, but he did manage his pacing. It looks like he's managed his finish as well. What a great swim.
Really great swim here.
And look at that, 16:05.14. He really managed to pick it up over the last 150 meters. He's got to be happy with that. That is a 20-second drop in that race. As they have the entire race, 7 100ths is all that separates lanes 2 and 3. William Warren and Jack Mills, with Jack Mills getting the touch at 16:22.22. Best time by him by almost 4 seconds, and a nice drop by William Warren in lane number 3, taking 11 seconds off his entry time and getting down to 16:22.29.
Yeah, Thomas also swims a little bit of open water, which makes sense because his stroke was very much in a bouncing rhythm, and that's often what we see in the open water program because to be fair, they're battling so many different conditions. They've got the waves, they've got all of the other athletes that swim basically in one big pile on top of each other. We don't have the luxury of doing that in the pool, of course.
And 17:18 is a split time as Alexa Morgan gets the bell indicating 100 meters left to go for her. Morgan's coming to the last ball in lane at number 7.
Final 50 now for Morgan. Representing the backstroke aquatic club in lane 17:55.
And here we have it, the final 50 of our morning here, now afternoon at the Pan Am Sports Center.
This is the end of our time trial session. 1500 meter freestyle, as Brittany mentioned, our last event this morning. Just a reminder for everybody that 6 p.m. tonight is the finals for day number 2. Morgan's to the wall in 18:31.90. The 2024 Olympic and Paralympic trials presented by Bell will be back again tonight at 6 p.m. Plenty of excitement with plenty of fast events in store for you. So please join us again on CBC Sports and CBC Gem for Team Canada and Brittany McLean. I'm Jason Pratt. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you back in a few hours.
Thank you very much for all of our athletes.
Natation Canada tient à remercier ses partenaires. Swimming Canada would like to thank our partners. Le gouvernement du Canada. The Government of Canada. Speedo, votre partenaire de natation de confiance de votre premier saut à chaque traction.